Poems. By W. B. Yeats. Preface. During the last year I have spent much time altering the Countess Kathleen and the Land of Heart's Desire, that they might be a part of the repertory of the Abbey Theatre. I had written them before I had any practical experience, and I knew from the performance of the one in Dublin in 1899 and of the other in London in 1894 that they were full of defects. But in their new shape, and each play has been twice played during the winter, they have given me some pleasure, and are, I think, easier to play effectively than my later plays, depending less upon the players and more upon the producer, both having been imagined more for variety of stage picture than variety of mood in the player. It was, indeed, the first performance of the Countess Kathleen, when our stage pictures were made out of poor conventional scenery and hired costumes, that set me writing plays where all would depend upon the player. The first two scenes are wholly new, and though I have left the old end in the body of this book, I have given in the notes an end less difficult to producer and audience, and there are slight alterations elsewhere in the poem. The Land of Heart's Desire, besides some mending in the details, has been thrown back in time because the metrical speech would have sounded unreal if spoken in a country cottage now that we have so many dialect comedies. The shades of Mrs. Fallon and Mrs. Delane and of Dan Burke in The Tramp would have seemed too boisterous or too vivid for shades made cold and distant with the artifice of verse. I have not again retouched the lyric poems of my youth, fearing some stupidity in my middle years, but have changed 2 or 3 pages that I always knew to be wrong in The Wanderings of Oisin. W. B. Yeats. June 1912. Preface to the 3rd edition. I have added some passages to The Land of Heart's Desire, and a new scene of some little length, besides passages here and there, to the Countess Kathleen. The goddess has never come to me with her hands so full that I have not found many waste places after I had planted all that she had brought me. The present version of the Countess Kathleen is not quite the version adopted by the Irish Literary Theatre a couple of years ago, for our stage and scenery were capable of little, and it may differ more from any stage version I make in future, for it seems that my people of the waters and my unhappy dead, in the 3rd act, cannot keep their supernatural essence, but must put on too much of our mortality, in any ordinary theatre. I am told that I must abandon a meaning or two and make my merchants carry away the treasure themselves. The act was written long ago, when I had seen so few plays that I took pleasure in stage effects. Indeed, I am not yet certain that a wealthy theatre could not shape it to an impressive pageantry, or that a theatre without any wealth could not lift it out of pageantry into the mind, with a dim curtain, and some dimly lighted players, and the beautiful voices that should be as important in poetical as in musical drama. The Elizabethan stage was so little imprisoned in material circumstance that the Elizabethan imagination was not strained by God or spirit, nor even by Echo herself, no, not even when she answered, as in The Duchess of Malfi, in clear, loud words which were not the words that had been spoken to her. We have made a prison house of paint and canvas, where we have as little freedom as under our own roofs, for there is no freedom in a house that has been made with hands. All art moves in the cave of the Chimera, or in the garden of the Hesperides, or in the more silent house of the gods, and neither cave, nor garden, nor house can show itself clearly but to the mind's eye. Besides rewriting a lyric or two, I have much enlarged the note on the Countess Kathleen, as there has been some discussion in Ireland about the origin of the story, but the other notes are as they have always been. They are short enough, but I do not think that anybody who knows modern poetry will find obscurities in this book. In any case, I must leave my myths and symbols to explain themselves as the years go by and one poem lights up another, and the stories that friends, and one friend in particular, have gathered for me, or that I have gathered myself in many cottages, find their way into the light. I would, if I could, add to that majestic heraldry of the poets, that great and complicated inheritance of images which written literature has substituted for the greater and more complex inheritance of spoken tradition, some new heraldic images, gathered from the lips of the common people. Christianity and the old nature faith have lain down side by side in the cottages, and I would proclaim that peace as loudly as I can among the kingdoms of poetry, where there is no peace that is not joyous, no battle that does not give life instead of death. I may even try to persuade others, in more sober prose, that there can be no language more worthy of poetry and of the meditation of the soul than that which has been made, or can be made, out of a subtlety of desire, an emotion of sacrifice, a delight in order, that are perhaps Christian, and myths and images that mirror the energies of woods and streams, and of their wild creatures. Has any part of that majestic heraldry of the poets had a very different fountain? Is it not the ritual of the marriage of heaven and earth? These details may seem to many unnecessary, but after all one writes poetry for a few careful readers and for a few friends, who will not consider such details unnecessary. When Cimabue had the cry it was, it seems, worth thinking of those that run. But today, when they can write as well as read, one can sit with one's companions under the hedgerow contentedly. If one writes well and has the patience, somebody will come from among the runners and read what one has written quickly, and go away quickly, and write out as much as he can remember in the language of the highway. W. B. Yeats. January 1901. Contents. Page. The Countess Kathleen. The Countess Kathleen. The Countess Kathleen. 1. The Rose. The Rose. The Rose. To the rose upon the root of time. To the rose upon the root of time. 109. Fergus and the Druid. Fergus and the Druid. 111. The Death of Cuchulainn. The Death of Cuchulainn. 114. The Rose of the World. The Rose of the World. 119. The Rose of Peace. The Rose of Peace. 120. The Rose of Battle. The Rose of Battle. 121. A Fairy Song. A Fairy Song. 123. The Lake Isle of Innisfree. The Lake Isle of Innisfree. 124. A Cradle Song. A Cradle Song. 125. The Pity of Love. The Pity of Love. 126. The Sorrow of Love. The Sorrow of Love. 127. When You Are Old. When You Are Old. 128. The White Birds. The White Birds. 129. A Dream of Death. A Dream of Death. 131. A Dream of a Blessed Spirit. A Dream of a Blessed Spirit. 132. Who Goes with Fergus? Who Goes with Fergus? 133. The Man Who Dreamed of Fair Island. The Man Who Dreamed of Fair Island. 134. The Dedication to a Book of Stories selected from the Irish Novelists. The Dedication to a Book of Stories selected from the Irish Novelists. 137. The Lamentation of the Old Pensioner. The Lamentation of the Old Pensioner. 139. The Ballad of Father Gilligan. The Ballad of Father Gilligan. 140. The Two Trees. The Two Trees. 143. To Ireland in the Coming Times. To Ireland in the Coming Times. 145. The Land of Heart's Desire. The Land of Heart's Desire. The Land of Heart's Desire. 149. Crossways. 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 The Song of the Happy Shepherd. The Song of the Happy Shepherd. 197. The Sad Shepherd. The Sad Shepherd. 200. The Cloak, the Boat, and the Shoes. The Cloak, the Boat, and the Shoes. 202. Anasuya and Vijaya. Anasuya and Vijaya. 203. The Indian upon God. The Indian upon God. 209. The Indian to his love. The Indian to his love. 211. The Falling of the Leaves. The Falling of the Leaves. 213. Ephemera. Ephemera. 214. The Madness of King Gall. The Madness of King Gall. 216. The Stolen Child. The Stolen Child. 220. To an Isle in the Water. To an Isle in the Water. 223. Down by the Sally Gardens. Down by the Sally Gardens. 224. The Meditation of the Old Fisherman. The Meditation of the Old Fisherman. 225. The Ballad of Father O'Hart. The Ballad of Father O'Hart. 226. The Ballad of Moll McGee. The Ballad of Moll McGee. 229. The Ballad of the Fox Hunter. The Ballad of the Fox Hunter. 232. The Wanderings of Usheen. The Wanderings of Usheen. The Wanderings of Usheen. 235. Glossary and Notes. Glossary and Notes. Glossary and Notes. 299. While I wrought out these fitful Danaan rhymes, my heart would brim with dreams about the times when we bent down above the fading coals, and talked of the dark folk, who live in souls of passionate men, like bats in the dead trees, and of the wayward twilight companies, who sigh with mingled sorrow and content, because their blossoming dreams have never bent under the fruit of evil and of good, and of the embattled flaming multitude who rise, wing above wing, flame above flame, and like a storm, cry the ineffable name, and with the clashing of their sword blades make a rapturous music, till the morning break, and the white hush end all, but the loud beat of their long wings, the flash of their white feet. The Countess Kathleen. Lament of Morian Shihon for Miss Mary Burke. Shemus Rua. Shemus Rua. A peasant. Mary. Mary. His wife. Teague. Teague. His son. Allele. Allele. A poet. The Countess Kathleen. The Countess Kathleen. Una. Una. Her foster mother. Two demons disguised as merchants. Peasants, servants, angelical beings. Scene 1. Scene. A room with lighted fire, and a door into the open air, through which one sees, perhaps, the trees of a wood, and these trees should be painted in flat color upon a gold or diapered sky. The walls are of one color. The scent should have the effect of missal painting. Mary, a woman of 40 years or so, is grinding a quern. Scene. Mary. Mary. What can have made the grey hen flutter so? Teague, a boy of 14, is coming in with turf, which he lays beside the hearth. Teague. They say that now the land is famine struck the graves are walking. Mary. There is something that the hen hears. There is something that the hen hears. Teague. And that is not the worst. At Tubervannock a woman met a man with ears spread out, and they moved up and down like a bat's wing. Mary. What can have kept your father all this while? Teague. 2 nights ago, at Carrickhore's churchyard, a herdsman met a man who had no mouth, nor eyes, nor ears, his face a wall of flesh. He saw him plainly by the light of the moon. Mary. Look out, and tell me if your father's coming. Teague goes to door. Teague. Mother. Mary. What is it? What is it? Teague. In the bush beyond, there are 2 birds, if you can call them birds. I could not see them rightly for the leaves. But they've the shape and color of horned owls, and I'm half certain they've a human face. In the bush beyond. Mary. Mother of God, defend us. Teague. They're looking at me. What is the good of praying? Father says. God and the Mother of God have dropped asleep. What do they care, he says, though the whole land squeal like a rabbit under a weasel's tooth? They're looking at me. Mary. You'll bring misfortune with your blasphemies upon your father, or yourself, or me. I would to God he were home. Ah, there he is. Shemus comes in. What was it kept you in the wood? You know I cannot get all sorts of accidents out of my mind till you are home again. Shemus. I'm in no mood to listen to your clatter. Although I tramp the woods for half a day, I've taken nothing, for the very rats, badgers, and hedgehogs seem to have died of drought, and there was scarce a wind in the parched leaves. Teague. Then you have brought no dinner. Shemus. After that I sat among the beggars at the crossroads, and held a hollow hand among the others. After that. Mary. What, did you beg? Shemus. I had no chance to beg, for when the beggars saw me they cried out they would not have another share their alms, and hunted me away with sticks and stones. I had no chance to beg. Teague. You said that you would bring us food or money. Shemus. What's in the house? Teague. A bit of mouldy bread. A bit of mouldy bread. Mary. There's flour enough to make another loaf. Teague. And when that's gone? Mary. There is the hen in the coop. There is the hen in the coop. Shemus. My curse upon the beggars, my curse upon them. Teague. And the last penny gone. Shemus. When the hen's gone, what can we do but live on sorrel and dock, and dandelion, till our mouths are green? When the hen's gone. Mary. God, that to this hour's found bit and sup, will cater for us still. Shemus. His kitchen's bare. There were 5 doors that I looked through this day and saw the dead and not a soul to wake them. His kitchen's bare. Mary. Maybe he'd have us die because he knows, when the ear is stopped and when the eye is stopped, that every wicked sight is hid from the eye, and all fool talk from the ear. Shemus. Who's passing there? And mocking us with music? Who's passing there? A stringed instrument without. Teague. A young man plays it. There's an old woman and a lady with him. A young man plays it. Shemus. What is the trouble of the poor to her? Nothing at all, or a harsh radishy sauce for the day's meat. Mary. God's pity on the rich. Had we been through as many doors, and seen the dishes standing on the polished wood in the wax candle light, we'd be as hard, and there's the needle's eye at the end of all. God's pity on the rich. Shemus. My curse upon the rich. Teague. They're coming here. They're coming here. Shemus. Then down upon that stool, down quick, I say, and call up a way face and a whining voice, and let your head be bowed upon your knees. Mary. Had I but time to put the place to rights. Kathleen, Una, and Alil enter. Kathleen. God save all here. There is a certain house, an old grey castle with a kitchen garden, a cider orchard and a plot for flowers, somewhere among these woods. Mary. We know it, lady. A place that's set among impassable walls as though world's trouble could not find it out. We know it, lady. Kathleen. It may be that we are that trouble, for we, although we've wandered in the wood this hour, have lost it too, yet I should know my way, for I lived all my childhood in that house. Mary. Then you are Countess Kathleen? Kathleen. And this woman Una, my nurse, should have remembered it, for we were happy for a long time there. And this woman, Una. The paths are overgrown with thickets now, or else some change has come upon my sight. Kathleen. And this young man, that should have known the woods, because we met him on their border but now, wandering and singing like a wave of the sea, is so wrapped up in dreams of terrors to come that he can give no help. Mary. You have still some way, but I can put you on the trodden path your servants take when they are marketing. But first sit down and rest yourself a while, for my old fathers served your fathers, lady, longer than books can tell, and it were strange if you and yours should not be welcome here. You have still some way. Kathleen. And it were stranger still were I ungrateful for such kind welcome, but I must be gone, for the night's gathering in. Shemus. It is a long while since I've set eyes on bread or on what buys it. It is a long while. Kathleen. So you are starving even in this wood, where I had thought I would find nothing changed. But that's a dream, for the old worm o' the world can eat its way into what place it pleases. She gives money. Teague. Beautiful lady, give me something too. I fell but now, being weak with hunger and thirst, and lay upon the threshold like a log. Kathleen. I gave for all, and that was all I had. Look, my purse is empty. I have passed by starving men and women all this day, and they have had the rest. But take the purse, the silver clasps on may be worth a trifle. But if you'll come tomorrow to my house you shall have twice the sum. Alil begins to play. Shemus, muttering. What music, music! What music, music! Kathleen. Ah, do not blame the finger on the string. The doctors bid me fly the unlucky times and find distraction for my thoughts, or else pine to my grave. Shemus. I have said nothing, lady. Why should the like of us complain? I have said nothing, lady. Una. Have done. Sorrows that she's but read of in a book weigh on her mind as if they had been her own. Have done. Una, Mary, and Kathleen go out. Alil looks defiantly at Seamus. Alil, singing. Were I but crazy for love's sake, I know who'd measure out his length. I know the heads that I should break, for crazy men have double strength. There! All's out now to leave or take, and who mocks music mocks at love, and when I'm crazy for love's sake I'll not go far to choose. Snapping his fingers in Seamus' face. Enough! I know the heads that I shall break. Enough! He takes a step towards the door, and then turns again. Shut to the door before the night has fallen, for who can say what walks, or in what shape some devilish creature flies in the air, but now 2 grey-horned owls hooted above our heads. He goes out, his singing dies away. Mary comes in. Seamus has been counting the money. Seamus. So that fool's gone. Teague. He's seen the horned owls too. There's no good luck in owls, but it may be that the ill luck's to fall upon his head. He's seen the horned owls too. Mary. You never thanked her ladyship. Seamus. Thank her, for 7 halfpence and a silver bit? Thank her. Teague. But for this empty purse? Seamus. What's that for thanks, or what's the double of it that she promised? With bread and flesh and every sort of food up to a price no man has heard the like of and rising every day. What's that for thanks? Mary. We have all she had. She emptied out the purse before our eyes. We have all she had. Seamus, to Mary, who has gone to close the door. Leave that door open. Mary. When those that have read books, and seen the 7 wonders of the world, fear what's above or what's below the ground, it's time that poverty should bolt the door. When those that have read books. Seamus. I'll have no bolts, for there is not a thing that walks above the ground or under it I had not rather welcome to this house than any more of mankind, rich or poor. Teague. So that they brought us money. Seamus. I heard say there's something that appears like a white bird, a pigeon or a seagull or the like, but if you hit it with a stone or a stick it clangs as though it had been made of brass, and that if you dig down where it was scratching you'll find a crock of gold. I heard say. Teague. But dream of gold for 3 nights running, and there's always gold. But dream of gold. Seamus. You might be starved before you've dug it out. Teague. But maybe if you called, something would come, they have been seen of late. Mary. Is it called devils? Call devils from the wood, call them in here? Is it called devils? Seamus. So you'd stand up against me, and you'd say who or what I am to welcome here. He hits her. That is to show who's master. Teague. Call them in. Call them in. Mary. God help us all. Seamus. Pray, if you have a mind to. It's little that the sleepy ears above care for your words, but I'll call what I please. Pray, if you have a mind to. Teague. There is many a one, they say, had money from them. Seamus at door. Whatever you are that walk the woods at night, so be it that you have not shouldered up out of a grave, for I'll have nothing human, and have free hands, a friendly trick of speech, I welcome you. Come, sit beside the fire. What matter if your head's below your arms or you've a horse's tail to whip your flank, feathers instead of hair, that's but a straw, come, share what bread and meat is in the house, and stretch your heels and warm them in the ashes. And after that, let's share and share alike and curse all men and women. Come in, come in. What, is there no one there? Turning from door, and yet they say they are as common as the grass, and ride even upon the book in the priest's hand. And yet they say. Teague lifts one arm slowly and points toward the door, and begins moving backwards. Seamus turns, he also sees something and begins moving backward. Mary does the same. A man dressed as an Eastern merchant comes in carrying a small carpet. He unrolls it and sits cross-legged at one end of it. Another man dressed in the same way follows, and sits at the other end. This is done slowly and deliberately. When they are seated they take money out of embroidered purses at their girdles and begin arranging it on the carpet. Teague. You speak to them. Seamus. Know you? Know you? Teague. 'Twas you that called them. 'Twas you that called them. Shemus, coming nearer. I'd make so bold, if you would pardon it, to ask if there's a thing you'd have of us. Although we are but poor people, if there is, why, if there is. First Merchant. We've traveled a long road, for we are merchants that must tramp the world, and now we look for supper and a fire and a safe corner to count money in. We've traveled a long road. Shemus. I thought you were, but that's no matter now. There had been words between my wife and me because I said I would be master here, and ask in what I pleased or who I pleased, and so. But that is nothing to the point, because it's certain that you are but merchants. First Merchant. We travel for the master of all merchants. Shemus. Yet if you were that I had thought, but now I'd welcome you no less. Be what you please, and you'll have supper at the market rate. That means that what was sold for but a penny is now worth 50. Merchants begin putting money on carpet. First Merchant. Our master bids us pay so good a price, that all who deal with us shall eat, drink, and be merry. Our master bids us pay. Shemus, to marry? Bestir yourself, go kill and draw the fowl, while Teague and I lay out the plates and make a better fire. Bestir yourself. Marry. I will not cook for you. Shemus. Not cook. Not cook. Do not be angry. She wants to pay me back because I struck her in that argument. But she'll get sense again. Since the dearth came, we rattle one on another, as though we were knives thrown into a basket to be cleaned. Not cook. Not cook. Mary. I will not cook for you, because I know in what unlucky shape you sat but now outside this door. Teague. It's this, your honors. Because of some wild words my father said, she thinks you are not of those who cast a shadow. It's this, your honors. Shemus. I said I'd make the devils of the wood welcome, if they'd a mind to eat and drink, but it is certain that you are men like us. First Merchant. It's strange that she should think we cast no shadow, for there is nothing on the ridge of the world that's more substantial than the merchants are that buy and sell you. Mary. If you are not demons, and seeing what great wealth is spread out there, give food or money to the starving poor. If you are not demons. First Merchant. If we knew how to find deserving poor, we'd do our share. Mary. But seek them patiently. But seek them patiently. First Merchant. We know the evils of mere charity. Mary. Those scruples may befit a common time. I had thought there was a pushing to and fro, at times like this, that overset the scale and trampled measure down. First Merchant. But if already we'd thought of a more prudent way than that? But if already. Second Merchant. If each one brings a bit of merchandise, we'll give him such a price he never dreamt of. Mary. Where shall the starving come at merchandise? First Merchant. We will ask nothing but what all men have. Mary. Their swine and cattle, fields and implements are sold and gone. First Merchant. They have not sold all yet. For there's a vaporous thing, that may be nothing, but that's the buyer's risk, a second self, they call immortal for a story's sake. They have not sold all yet. Shemus. They come to buy our souls? Teague. I'll barter mine. Why should we starve for what may be but nothing? I'll barter mine. Mary. Teague and Shemus. Shemus. What can it be but nothing? What has God poured out of his bag but famine? Satan gives money. What can it be but nothing? Teague. Yet no thunder stirs. Yet no thunder stirs. First Merchant. There is a heap for each. Shemus goes to take money. But no, not yet, for there's a work I have to set you to. But no, not yet. Shemus. So then you're as deceitful as the rest, and all that talk of buying what's but a vapor is fancy bread. I might have known as much, because that's how the trickle-the-loop man talks. First Merchant. That's for the work, each has its separate price, but neither price is paid till the work's done. Teague. The same for me. Mary. Oh God, why are you still? Oh God, why are you still? First Merchant. You've but to cry aloud at every crossroad, at every house door, that we buy men's souls, and give so good a price that all may live in mirth and comfort till the famine's done, because we are Christian men. Shemus. Come, let's away. Come, let's away. Teague. I shall keep running till I've earned the price. Second merchant. Who has risen and gone towards fire? Stop, you must have proof behind the words. So here's your entertainment on the road. He throws a bag of money on the ground. Live as you please, our master's generous. Teague and Shemus have stopped. Teague takes the money. They go out. Mary. Destroyers of souls, God will destroy you quickly. You shall at last dry like dry leaves and hang nailed like dead vermin to the doors of God. Second merchant. Curse to your fill, for saints will have their dreams. First merchant. Though we're but vermin that our master sent to overrun the world, he at the end shall pull apart the pale ribs of the moon, and quench the stars in the ancestral night. Mary. God is all-powerful. Second merchant. Pray, you shall need him. You shall eat dock and grass, and dandelion, till that low threshold there becomes a wall, and when your hands can scarcely drag your body we shall be near you. Pray, you shall need him. Mary faints. The first merchant takes up the carpet, spreads it before the fire, and stands in front of it warming his hands. First merchant. Our faces go unscratched, wring the neck o' that fowl, scatter the flour and look if there is bread upon the shelves. We'll turn the fowl upon the spit and roast it, and eat the supper we were bidden to, now that the house is quiet, praise our master, and stretch and warm our heels among the ashes. Our faces go unscratched. Scene 2. Front scene. A wood with perhaps distant view of turreted house at one side, but all in flat color, without light and shade and against a diapered or gold background. Countess Kathleen comes in leaning upon Aliel's arm. Una follows them. Kathleen, stopping. Surely this leafy corner, where one smells the wild bee's honey, has a story too? Una. There is the house at last. Aliel. A man, they say, loved Maeve the queen of all the invisible host, and died of his love 9 centuries ago. And now, when the moon's riding at the full, she leaves her dancers lonely and lies there upon that level place, and for 3 days stretches and sighs and wets her long pale cheeks. A man, they say. Kathleen. So she loves truly. Aliel. No, but wets her cheeks, lady, because she has forgot his name. No, but wets her cheeks. Kathleen. She'd sleep that trouble away, though it must be a heavy trouble to forget his name, if she had better sense. Una. Your own house, lady. Your own house, lady. Aliel. She sleeps high up on wintry Knocknarea in an old cairn of stones, while her poor women must lie and jog in the wave if they would sleep, being waterborne. Yet if she cry their names they run up on the land and dance in the moon till they are giddy and would love as men do, and be as patient and as pitiful. But there is nothing that will stop in their heads, they've such poor memories, though they weep for it. Oh yes, they weep. That's when the moon is full. Kathleen. Is it because they have short memories they live so long? Aliel. What's memory but the ash that chokes our fires that have begun to sink? And they've a dizzy, everlasting fire. What's memory but the ash? Una. There is your own house, lady. Kathleen. Why, that's true, and we'd have passed it without noticing. Why, that's true. Aliel. A curse upon it for a meddlesome house. Had it but stayed away I would have known what Queen Maeve thinks on when the moon is pinched, and whether now, as in the old days, the dancers set their brief love on men. Una. Rest on my arm. These are no thoughts for any Christian ear. Rest on my arm. Aliel. I am younger, she would be too heavy for you. He begins taking his lute out of the bag. Kathleen, who has turned towards Una, turns back to him. This hollow box remembers every foot that danced upon the level grass of the world, and will tell secrets if I whisper to it. Sings. Lift up the white knee, hear what they sing, those young dancers that in a ring raved but now of the hearts that break long, long ago for their sake. Una. New friends are sweet. Aliel. But the dance changes. Lift up the gown, all that sorrow is trodden down. Una. The empty rattle-pate. Lean on this arm, that I can tell you is a christen arm, and not like some, if we are to judge by speech. But as you please. It is time I was forgot. Maybe it is not on this arm you slumbered when you were as helpless as a worm. Allele. Stay with me till we come to your own house. Kathleen, sitting down? When I am rested I will need no help. Allele. I thought to have kept her from remembering the evil of the times for full 10 minutes. But now when 7 are out you come between. Una. Talk on, what does it matter what you say, for you have not been christened. Allele. Old woman, you robbed her of 3 minutes' peace of mind, and though you live unto 100 years, and wash the feet of beggars and give alms, and climb Croapatrick, you shall not be pardoned. Old woman. Una. How does a man who never was baptized know what heaven pardons? Allele. You are a sinful woman. Una. I care no more than if a pig had grunted. Enter Kathleen's steward. Steward. I am not to blame, for I had locked the gate, the foresters to blame. The men climbed in at the east corner where the elm tree is. Kathleen. I do not understand you. Who has climbed? Steward. Then God be thanked, I am the first to tell you. I was afraid some other of the servants, though I've been on the watch, had been the first, and mixed up truth and lies, your ladyship. Kathleen, rising. Has some misfortune happened? Steward. Yes, indeed. The forester that let the branches lie against the walls to blame for everything, for that is how the rogues got into the garden. Yes, indeed. Kathleen. I thought to have escaped misfortune here. Has any one been killed? Steward. Oh no, not killed. They have stolen half a cartload of green cabbage. Oh no, not killed. Kathleen. But maybe they were starving. Steward. That is certain. To rob or starve, that was the choice they had. That is certain. Kathleen. A learned theologian has laid down that starving men may take what's necessary, and yet be sinless. Una. Sinless and a thief. There should be broken bottles on the wall. Sinless and a thief. Kathleen. And if it be a sin, while faith's unbroken God cannot help but pardon. There is no soul but it's unlike all others in the world, nor one but lifts a strangeness to God's love till that's grown infinite, and therefore none whose loss were less than irremediable although it were the wickedest in the world. Enter Teague and Shemus. Steward. What are you running for? Pull off your cap, do you not see who's there? Shemus. I cannot wait. I am running to the world with the best news that has been brought it for 1,000 years. I cannot wait. Steward. Then get your breath and speak. Shemus. If you'd my news you'd run as fast and be as out of breath. If you'd my news. Teague. Such news, we shall be carried on men's shoulders. Shemus. There's something every man has carried with him and thought no more about than if it were a mouthful of the wind, and now it's grown a marketable thing. Teague. And yet it seemed as useless as the paring of one's nails. And yet it seemed. Shemus. What sets me laughing when I think of it, is that a rogue who's lain in lousy straw, if he but sell it, may set up his coach. Teague, laughing. There are 2 gentlemen who buy men's souls. Kathleen. Oh God! Teague. And maybe there's no soul at all. And maybe there's no soul at all. Steward. They're drunk or mad. Teague. Look at the price they give. Showing money. Shemus, tossing up money. Go cry it all about the world. They said. Money for souls, good money for a soul. Kathleen. Give twice and thrice and 20 times their money, and get your souls again. I will pay all. Shemus. Not we. Not we. For souls, if there are souls, but keep the flesh out of its merriment. I shall be drunk and merry. Teague. Come, let's away. Come, let's away. He goes. Kathleen. But there's a world to come. Shemus. And if there is, I'd rather trust myself into the hands that can pay money down than to the hands that have but shaken famine from the bag. And if there is, he goes out lilting. There's money for a soul, sweet yellow money. There's money for men's souls, good money, money. Kathleen to Alil. Go call them here again, bring them by force, beseech them, bribe, do anything you like. Alil goes. And you too follow, add your prayers to his. Una, who has been praying, goes out. Steward, you know the secrets of my house. How much have I? Steward. 100 kegs of gold. 100 kegs of gold. Kathleen. How much have I in castles? Steward. As much more. As much more. Kathleen. How much have I in pasture? Steward. As much more. As much more. Kathleen. How much have I in forests? Steward. As much more. As much more. Kathleen. Keeping this house alone, sell all I have, go barter where you please, but come again with herds of cattle and with ships of meal. Steward. God's blessing light upon your ladyship. You will have saved the land. Kathleen. Make no delay. Make no delay. He goes L. Alil and Una return. Kathleen. They have not come, speak quickly. Alil. One drew his knife and said that he would kill the man or woman that stopped his way, and when I would have stopped him he made this stroke at me, but it is nothing. One drew his knife. Kathleen. You shall be tended. From this day forever I'll have no joy or sorrow of my own. Una. Their eyes shone like the eyes of birds of prey. Kathleen. Come, follow me, for the earth burns my feet till I have changed my house to such a refuge that the old and ailing, and all weak of heart, may escape from beak and claw. All, shall come till the walls burst and the roof fall on us. From this day out I have nothing of my own. She goes. Una, taking Alil by the arm and as she speaks bandaging his wound. She has found something now to put her hand to, and you and I are of no more account than flies upon a window pane in the winter. They go out. End of Scene 2. Scene 3. Scene. Hall in the house of Countess Kathleen. At the left an oratory with steps leading up to it. At the right a tapestried wall, more or less repeating the form of the oratory, and a great chair with its back against the wall. In the center are 2 or more arches through which one can see dimly the trees of the garden. Kathleen is kneeling in front of the altar in the oratory. There is a hanging lighted lamp over the altar. Alil enters. Scene. Countess Kathleen. Kathleen. Alil. Alil. I have come to bid you leave this castle and fly out of these woods. Kathleen. What evil is there here that is not everywhere from this to the sea? What evil is there here? Alil. They who have sent me walk invisible. Kathleen. So it is true what I have heard men say, that you have seen and heard what others cannot. Alil. I was asleep in my bed, and while I slept my dream became a fire, and in the fire one walked, and he had birds about his head. Kathleen. I have heard that one of the old gods walks so. Alil. It may be that he is angelical, and lady, he bids me call you from these woods. And you must bring but your old foster mother, and some few serving men, and live in the hills, among the sounds of music and the light of waters, till the evil days are done. For here some terrible death is waiting you, some unimagined evil, some great darkness that fable has not dreamt of, nor sun nor moon scattered. Kathleen. No, not angelical. No, not angelical. Alil. This house you are to leave with some old trusty man, and bid him shelter all that starve or wander while there is food and house room. This house. Kathleen. He bids me go where none of mortal creatures but the swan dabbles, and there you would pluck the harp, when the trees had made a heavy shadow about our door, and talk among the rustling of the reeds, when night hunted the foolish sun away with stillness and pale tapers. No, no, no! I cannot. Although I weep, I do not weep because that life would be most happy, and here I find no way, no end. Nor do I weep because I had longed to look upon your face, but that a night of prayer has made me weary. Alil, prostrating himself before her, let him that made mankind, the angels and devils and dearth and plenty, mend what he has made, for when we labor in vain and I still sees heart breaks in vain. He bids me go. Kathleen. How would that quiet end? How would that quiet end? Alil. How but in healing? Kathleen. You have seen my tears and I can see your hand shake on the floor. You have seen my tears. Alil, faltering. I thought but of healing. He was angelical. Kathleen, turning away from him. No, not angelical, but of the old gods, who wander about the world to waken the heart, the passionate, proud heart, that all the angels, leaving 9 heavens empty, would rock to sleep. She goes to chapel door. Alil holds his clasped hands towards her for a moment hesitatingly, and then lets them fall beside him. Kathleen. Do not hold out to me beseeching hands. This heart shall never waken on earth. I have sworn, by her whose heart the 7 sorrows have pierced, to pray before this altar until my heart has grown to heaven like a tree, and there rustled its leaves, till heaven has saved my people. Alil, who has risen. When one so great has spoken of love to one so little as I, though to deny him love, what can he but hold up beseeching hands, then let them fall beside him, knowing how greatly they have overdared. He goes towards the door of the hall. The Countess Kathleen takes a few steps towards him. Kathleen. If the old tales are true, queens have wed shepherds and kings beggar-maids. God's procreant waters flowing about your mind have made you more than kings or queens. And not you, but I am the empty pitcher. If the old tales are true. Alil. Being silent, I have said all, yet let me stay beside you. Being silent. Kathleen. No, no, not while my heart is shaken. No, but you shall hear wind cry and water cry, and curlew cry, and have the peace I longed for. Alil. Give me your hand to kiss. Kathleen. I kiss your forehead. And yet I send you from me? Do not speak. There have been women that bid men to rob crowns from the country under wave or apples upon a dragon-guarded hill, and all that they might sift men's hearts and wills, and trembled as they bid it, as I tremble that lay a hard task on you, that you go, and silently, and do not turn your head. Goodbye. But do not turn your head and look. Above all else, I would not have you look. I kiss your forehead. Alil goes. I never spoke to him of his wounded hand, and now he is gone. She looks out. I cannot see him, for all is dark outside. Would my imagination and my heart were as little shaken as this holy flame. She goes slowly into the chapel. The distant sound of an alarm bell. The 2 merchants enter hurriedly. Second merchant. They are ringing the alarm, and in a moment they'll be upon us. First merchant, going to a door at the side. Here is the treasury, you'd my commands to put them all to sleep. Here is the treasury. Second merchant. Some angel or else her prayers protected them. Goes into the treasury and returns with bags of treasure. First merchant has been listening at the oratory door. First merchant. She has fallen asleep. Second merchant goes out through one of the arches at the back and stands listening. The bags are at his feet. Second merchant. We've all the treasure now, so let's away before they've tracked us out. We've all the treasure now. First merchant. I have a plan to win her. Second merchant. You have time enough if you would kill her and bear off her soul before they are upon us with their prayers. They search the western tower. You have time enough. First merchant. That may not be. We cannot face the heavenly host in arms. Her soul must come to us of its own will, but being of the 9th and mightiest hell where all are kings, I have a plan to win it. Lady, we've news that's crying out for speech. That may not be. Kathleen wakes and comes to door of chapel. Kathleen. Who calls? First merchant. We have brought news. We have brought news. Kathleen. What are you? What are you? First merchant. We are merchants, and we know the book of the world because we have walked upon its leaves, and there have read of late matters that much concern you, and noticing the castle door stand open, came in to find an ear. Kathleen. The door stands open, that no one who is famished or afraid despair of help or of a welcome with it. But you have news, you say. The door stands open. First Merchant. We saw a man, heavy with sickness in the bog of Allen, whom you had bid buy cattle. Near Fairhead we saw your grain ships lying all becalmed in the dark night, and not less still than they, burned all their mirrored lanterns in the sea. We saw a man. Kathleen. My thanks to God, to Mary and the angels, that I have money in my treasury, and can buy grain from those who have stored it up to prosper on the hunger of the poor. But you've been far and know the signs of things. When will this famine end? First Merchant. Day copies day, and there's no sign of change, nor can it change, with the wheat withered and the cattle dead. Day copies day. Kathleen. And heard you of the demons who buy souls? First Merchant. There are some men who hold they have wolves' heads, and say their limbs, dried by the infinite flame, have all the speed of storms. Others, again, say they are gross and little, while a few will have it they seem much as mortals are, but tall and brown and travelled, like us, lady, yet all agree a power is in their looks that makes men bow, and flings a casting net about their souls, and that all men would go and barter those poor vapors, were it not you bribe them with the safety of your gold. Kathleen. Praise be to God, to Mary, and the angels that I am wealthy. Wherefore do they sell? First Merchant. As we came in at the great door we saw your porter sleeping in his niche, a soul too little to be worth 100 pence, and yet they buy it for 100 crowns. But for a soul like yours, I heard them say, they would give 500,000 crowns and more. Kathleen. How can a heap of crowns pay for a soul? Is the green grave so terrible a thing? First Merchant. Some sell because the money gleams, and some because they are in terror of the grave, and some because their neighbors sold before, and some because there is a kind of joy in casting hope away, in losing joy, in ceasing all resistance, in at last opening one's arms to the eternal flames, in casting all sails out upon the wind. To this, full of the gaiety of the lost, would all folk hurry if your gold were gone. Kathleen. There is a something, Merchant, in your voice that makes me fear. When you were telling how a man may lose his soul and lose his God, your eyes were lighted up, and when you told how my poor money serves the people, both, merchants forgive me, seemed to smile. First Merchant. I laugh to think that all these people should be swung as on a lady's shoestring, under them the glowing leagues of never-ending flame. I laugh. Kathleen. There is a something in you that I fear, a something not of us. Were you not born in some most distant corner of the world? The second merchant, who has been listening at the door, comes forward, and as he comes a sound of voices and feet is heard. Second Merchant. Second Merchant. Away now, they are in the passage. Hurry, for they will know us, and freeze up our hearts with Ave Marys, and burn all our skin with holy water. First Merchant. Farewell, for we must ride many a mile before the morning come. Our horses beat the ground impatiently. Farewell, for we must ride. They go out. A number of peasants enter by other door. Peasants. First Peasant. Forgive us, lady, but we heard a noise. Second Peasant. We sat by the fireside telling vanities. First Peasant. We heard a noise, but though we have searched the house we have found nobody. Kathleen. You are too timid, for now you are safe from all the evil times. There is no evil that can find you here. You are too timid. Una, entering hurriedly. Achone! Achone! The treasure room is broken in. The door stands open, and the gold is gone. Peasants raise a lamentable cry. Peasants. Kathleen. Be silent. The cry ceases. Have you seen nobody? Una. Achone! That my good mistress should lose all this money. Achone! Kathleen. Let those among you, not too old to ride, get horses and search all the country round. I'll give a farm to him who finds the thieves. A man with keys at his girdle has come in while she speaks. There is a general murmur of, "The porter! The porter! Porter!" Demons were here. I sat beside the door in my stone niche, and 2 owls passed me by, whispering with human voices. Old peasant. God forsakes us. God forsakes us. Kathleen. Old man, he never closed the door unless one opened. I am desolate, because of a strange thought that's in my heart, but I have still my faith, therefore be silent, for surely he does not forsake the world, but stands before it modeling in the clay and molding there his image. Age by age the clay wars with his fingers and pleads hard for its old, heavy, dull and shapeless ease, but sometimes, though his hand is on it still, it moves awry and demon hordes are born. Peasants cross themselves. Peasants. Yet leave me now, for I am desolate, I hear a whisper from beyond the thunder. She comes from the oratory door. Yet stay an instant. When we meet again I may have grown forgetful. Una, take these two, the larder and the dairy keys. To the porter. Porter. But take you this. It opens the small room of herbs for medicine, of hellebore, of vervain, monkshood, plantain, and self-heal. The book of cures is on the upper shelf. Porter. Why do you do this, lady? Did you see your coffin in a dream? Kathleen. Ah, no, not that. But I have come to a strange thought. I have heard a sound of wailing in unnumbered hovels, and I must go down, I know not where. Pray for all men and women mad from famine. Pray, you good neighbors. Ah, no, not that. The peasants all kneel. Countess Kathleen ascends the steps to the door of the oratory, and turning round stands there motionless for a little, and then cries in a loud voice, smiley face. Peasants. Countess Kathleen. Mary, Queen of Angels, and all you clouds on clouds of saints, farewell. Mary, Queen of Angels. End of Scene 3. Scene 4. Scene. We're near the castle, as in Scene 2. A group of peasants pass. Scene. Peasants. First peasant. I have seen silver and copper, but not gold. Second peasant. It's yellow and it shines. First peasant. It's beautiful. The most beautiful thing under the sun, that's what I've heard. It's beautiful. Third peasant. I have seen gold enough. I have seen gold enough. Fourth peasant. I would not say that it's so beautiful. First peasant. But doesn't a gold piece glitter like the sun? That's what my father, who'd seen better days, told me when I was but a little boy. So high, it's shining like the sun, round and shining, that is what he said. Second peasant. There's nothing in the world it cannot buy. First peasant. They'd bags and bags of it. They go out. The two merchants follow silently. Then Aleel passes over the stage singing. Merchants. Aleel. Aleel. Impetuous heart, be still, your sorrowful love can never be told, cover it up with a lonely tune. He who could bend all things to his will has covered the door of the infinite fold with the pale stars and the wandering moon. End of Scene 4. Scene 5. Scene. The house of Shemus Rua. There is an alcove at the back with curtains, in it a bed, and on the bed is the body of Mary with candles round it. The two merchants while they speak put a large book upon a table, arrange money, and so on. Scene. Shemus Rua. Mary. Merchants. First merchant. Thanks to that lie I told about her ships and that about the herdsman lying sick, we shall be too much thronged with souls tomorrow. Second merchant. What has she in her coffers now but mice? First merchant. When the night fell and I had shaped myself into the image of the man-headed owl, I hurried to the cliffs of Donegal, and saw with all their canvas full of wind and rushing through the party-colored sea those ships that bring the woman grain and meal. They're but 3 days from us. Second merchant. When the dew rose I hurried in like feathers to the east, and saw 900 oxen driven through Meath with goads of iron. They're but 3 days from us. When the dew rose. First merchant. 3 days for traffic. Peasants crowd in with Teague and Shemus. Peasants. Teague. Shemus. Shemus. Come in, you are welcome. That is my wife. She mocked at my great masters, and would not deal with them. Now there she is, she does not even know she was a fool, so great a fool she was. Come in, you are welcome. Teague. She would not eat one crumb of bread bought with our master's money, but lived on nettles, dock, and dandelion. She would not eat. Shemus. There's nobody could put into her head that death is the worst thing can happen us. Though that sounds simple, for her tongue grew rank with all the lies that she had heard in chapel. Draw to the curtain. Teague draws it. You'll not play the fool while these good gentlemen are there to save you. Teague. Second merchant. Since the drought came they drift about in a throng, like autumn leaves blown by the dreary winds. Come deal, come deal. First merchant. Who will come deal with us? Who will come deal with us? Shemus. They are out of spirit, sir, with lack of food, save 4 or 5. Here, sir, is one of these. The others will gain courage in good time. Middle-aged man. I come to deal, if you give honest price. First merchant, reading in a book. John Marr, a man of substance, with dull mind, and quiet senses and unventurous heart. The angels think him safe. 200 crowns, all for a soul, a little breath of wind. The man. I ask 300 crowns. You have read there that no mere lapse of days can make me yours. First merchant. There is something more writ here. Often at night he is wakeful from a dread of growing poor, and thereon wonders if there's any man that he could rob in safety. A peasant. Who'd have thought it? And I was once alone with him at midnight. Who'd have thought it? Another peasant. I will not trust my mother after this. First merchant. There is this crack in you, 200 crowns. A peasant. That's plenty for a rogue. Another peasant. I'd give him nothing. I'd give him nothing. Shemus. You'll get no more, so take what's offered you. A general murmur, during which the middle-aged man takes money, and slips into background, where he sinks onto a seat. Middle-aged man. First merchant. Has no one got a better soul than that? If only for the credit of your parishes, traffic with us. A woman. What will you give for mine? What will you give for mine? First merchant, reading in book. Soft, handsome, and still young. Not much, I think. It's certain that the man she's married to knows nothing of what's hidden in the jar between the hourglass and the pepper pot. The woman. The scandalous book. First merchant. Nor how when he's away at the horse fair the hand that wrote what's hid will tap 3 times upon the window pane. Nor how when he's away. The woman. And if there is a letter, that is no reason why I should have less money than the others. First merchant. You're almost safe, I give you 50 crowns. She turns to go. 100 then. Shemus. Woman, have sense, come, come. Is this a time to haggle at the price? There, take it up. There, there. That's right. Woman, have sense, come, come. She takes them and goes into the crowd. First merchant. Come, deal, deal, deal. It is but for charity we buy such souls at all. 1,000 sins made them our masters long before we came. Allele enters. Allele. Allele. Here, take my soul, for I am tired of it. I do not ask a price. Shemus. Not ask a price? How can you sell your soul without a price? I would not listen to his broken wits. His love for Countess Kathleen has so crazed him he hardly understands what he is saying. Not ask a price? Allele. The trouble that has come on Countess Kathleen, the sorrow that is in her wasted face, the burden in her eyes, have broke my wits, and yet I know I'd have you take my soul. First merchant. We cannot take your soul, for it is hers. Allele. No, but you must. Seeing it cannot help her, I have grown tired of it. First merchant. Begone from me, I may not touch it. Begone from me. Allele. Is your power so small? And must I bear it with me all my days? May you be scorned and mocked. Is your power so small? First merchant. Drag him away. He troubles me. Drag him away. Teague and Shemus lead Allele into the crowd. Teague. Shemus. Allele. Second merchant. His gaze has filled me, brother, with shaking and a dreadful fear. His gaze has filled me, brother. First merchant. Lean forward and kiss the circlet where my master's lips were pressed upon it when he sent us hither. You shall have peace once more. Lean forward. Second merchant kisses the gold circlet that is about the head of the first merchant. Second merchant. First merchant. I too grow weary, but there is something moving in my heart whereby I know that what we seek the most is drawing near. Our labor will soon end. Come, deal, 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 deal. Are you all dumb? What, will you keep me from our ancient home, and from the eternal revelry? I too grow weary. Second merchant. Deal, deal. Deal, deal. Shemus. They say you beat the woman down too low. First merchant. I offer this great price, 1,000 crowns for an old woman who was always ugly. An old peasant woman comes forward, and he takes up a book and reads, smiley face. Peasant woman. There is but little set down here against her. She has stolen eggs and fowl when times were bad, but when the times grew better has confessed it. She never missed her chapel of a Sunday, and when she could, paid dues. Take up your money. Old woman. God bless you, sir. She screams. Oh, sir, a pain went through me. First merchant. That name is like a fire to all damned souls. Murmur among the peasants, who shrink back from her as she goes out. Peasants. A peasant. How she screamed out. Second peasant. And maybe we shall scream so. And maybe we shall scream so. Third peasant. I tell you there is no such place as hell. First merchant. Can such a trifle turn you from your profit? Come, deal, come, deal. Middle-aged man. Master, I am afraid. Master, I am afraid. First merchant. I bought your soul, and there's no sense in fear now the soul's gone. Middle-aged man. Give me my soul again. Give me my soul again. Woman, going on her knees and clinging to merchant. Merchant. And take this money too, and give me mine. Second merchant. Bear bastards, drink or follow some wild fancy, for sighs and cries are the soul's work, and you have none. Throws the woman off. Peasant. Come, let's away. Come, let's away. Another peasant. Yes, yes. Yes, yes. Another peasant. Come quickly. If that woman had not screamed, I would have lost my soul. Another peasant. Come, come away. Come, come away. They turn to door, but are stopped by shouts of Countess Kathleen! Countess Kathleen! Kathleen, entering. And so you trade once more? First merchant. In spite of you. What brings you here, saint with the sapphire eyes? In spite of you. Kathleen. I come to barter a soul for a great price. Second merchant. What matter, if the soul be worth the price? Kathleen. The people starve, therefore the people go thronging to you. I hear a cry come from them, and it is in my ears by night and day, and I would have 500,000 crowns that I may feed them till the dearth go by. First merchant. It may be the soul's worth it. Kathleen. There is more. The souls that you have bought must be set free. There is more. First merchant. We know of but one soul that's worth the price. Kathleen. Being my own, it seems a priceless thing. Second merchant. You offer us. Kathleen. I offer my own soul. I offer my own soul. A peasant. Do not, for souls the like of ours are not precious to God as your soul is. Oh! What would heaven do without you, lady? Another peasant. Look how their claws clutch in their leathern gloves. First merchant. 500,000 crowns, we give the price. The gold is here, the souls even while you speak have slipped out of our bond, because your face has shed a light on them and filled their hearts. But you must sign, for we omit no form in buying a soul like yours. Second merchant. Sign with this quill. It was a feather growing on the cock that crowed when Peter dared deny his master, and all who use it have great honor in hell. Sign with this quill. Kathleen leans forward to sign. Kathleen. Allele, rushing forward and snatching the pen from her. Leave all things to the builder of the heavens. Kathleen. I have no thoughts. I hear a cry, a cry. Alil, casting the pen on the ground. I have seen a vision under a green hedge, a hedge of hips and haws. Men yet shall hear the archangels rolling Satan's empty skull over the mountain tops. First Merchant. Take him away. Take him away. Teague and Shemus drag him roughly away so that he falls upon the floor among the peasants. Kathleen picks up parchment and signs, then turns towards the peasants. Teague. Peasants. Kathleen. Peasants. Kathleen. Take up the money, and now come with me. When we are far from this polluted place, I will give everybody money enough. She goes out, the peasants crowding round her and kissing her dress. Alil and the 2 merchants are left alone. Peasants. Alil. Merchants. Second Merchant. We must away and wait until she dies, sitting above her tower as 2 grey owls, waiting as many years as may be, guarding our precious jewel, waiting to seize her soul. First Merchant. We need but hover over her head in the air, for she has only minutes. When she signed, her heart began to break. Hush, hush, I hear the brazen door of hell move on its hinges, and the eternal revelry float hither to hearten us. Second Merchant. Leap feathered on the air and meet them with her soul caught in your claws. Leap feathered on the air. They rush out. Alil crawls into the middle of the room. The twilight has fallen and gradually darkens as the scene goes on. There is a distant muttering of thunder and a sound of rising storm. Alil. Alil. The brazen door stands wide, and Balor comes borne in his heavy car, and demons have lifted the age-weary eyelids from the eyes that of old turned gods to stone. Barak, the traitor, comes in a lascivious race, Calatin, that cast a druid weakness and decay over Swaltums and old Dectera's child, and that great king Hell first took hold upon when he killed Nisai and broke Deirdre's heart, and all their heads are twisted to one side. For when they lived they warred on beauty and peace with obstinate, crafty, sidelong bitterness. He moves about as though the air above him was full of spirits. Una enters. Una. Crouch down, old heron, out of the blind storm. Una. Where is the Countess Kathleen? All this day her eyes were full of tears, and when for a moment her hand was laid upon my hand it trembled, and now I do not know where she is gone. Alil. Kathleen has chosen other friends than us, and they are rising through the hollow world. Demons are out, old heron. Una. God guard her soul. God guard her soul. Alil. She's bartered it away this very hour, as though we two were never in the world. He points downward. First, Orkel, her pale, beautiful head, her body shadowy as vapor drifting under the dawn, for she who awoke desire has but a heart of blood when others die. About her is a vapory multitude of women alluring devils with soft laughter, behind her a host heat of the blood made sin, but all the little pink-white nails have grown to be great talents. He seizes Una and drags her into the middle of the room and points downward with vehement gestures. The wind roars. Una. They begin a song, and there is still some music on their tongues. They begin a song. Una, casting herself face downwards on the floor. O Maker of all, protect her from the demons, and if a soul must need be lost, take mine. Alil kneels beside her, but does not seem to hear her words. The peasants return. They carry the Countess Kathleen and lay her upon the ground before Una and Alil. She lies there as if dead. Alil. Peasants. Countess Kathleen. Una. Alil. Una. Oh, that so many pitchers of rough clay should prosper and the porcelain break in two! She kisses the hands of Kathleen. Kathleen. A peasant. We were under the tree where the path turns, when she grew pale as death and fainted away. And while we bore her hither, cloudy gusts blackened the world and shook us on our feet. Draw the great bolt, for no man has beheld so black, bitter, blinding, and sudden a storm. One who is near the door draws the bolt. Kathleen. Oh, hold me, and hold me tightly, for the storm is dragging me away. Una takes her in her arms. A woman begins to wail. Una. A woman. Peasant. Hush. Hush. Peasants. Hush. Hush. Peasant women. Hush. Hush. Other peasant women. Hush! Hush! Kathleen, half rising. Lay all the bags of money in a heap, and when I am gone, old Una, share them out to every man and woman, judge, and give according to their needs. A peasant woman. And will she give enough to keep my children through the dearth? And will she give? Another peasant woman. O Queen of Heaven, and all you blessed saints, let us and ours be lost so she be shriven. Kathleen. Bend down your faces, Una and Alil. I gaze upon them as the swallow gazes upon the nest under the eave, before she wander the loud waters. Do not weep too great a while, for there is many a candle on the high altar though one fall. Alil, who sang about the dancers of the woods, that know not the hard burden of the world, having but breath in their kind bodies, farewell. And farewell, Una, you who played with me, and bore me in your arms about the house when I was but a child and therefore happy, even like those that dance. The storm is in my hair, and I must go. She dies. Una. Bring me the looking glass. A woman brings it to her out of the inner room. Una holds it over the lips of Kathleen. All is silent for a moment. And then she speaks in a half-scream, smiley face. A woman. Una. Kathleen. Oh, she is dead. Oh, she is dead. A peasant. She was the great white lily of the world. A peasant. She was more beautiful than the pale stars. An old peasant woman. The little plant I love is broken in two. Alil takes looking glass from Una and flings it upon the floor so that it is broken in many pieces. Alil. Una. Alil. I shatter you in fragments, for the face that brimmed you up with beauty is no more, and die, dull heart, for she whose mournful words made you a living spirit has passed away and left you but a ball of passionate dust. And you, proud earth and plumy sea, fade out. For you may hear no more her faltering feet, but are left lonely amid the clamorous war of angels upon devils. He stands up. Almost every one is kneeling, but it has grown so dark that only confused forms can be seen. And I who weep call curses on you, time and fate and change, and have no excellent hope but the great hour when you shall plunge headlong through bottomless space. And I who weep. A flash of lightning followed immediately by thunder. A peasant woman. Pull him upon his knees before his curses have plucked thunder and lightning on our heads. Alil. Angels and devils clash in the middle air, and brazen swords clang upon brazen helms. A flash of lightning followed immediately by thunder. Yonder a bright spear, cast out of a sling, has torn through Bela's eye, and the dark clans fly screaming as they fled Moitura of old. Everything is lost in darkness. An old man. The almighty wrath at our great weakness and sin has blotted out the world, and we must die. The darkness is broken by a visionary light. The peasants seem to be kneeling upon the rocky slope of a mountain, and vapor full of storm and ever-changing light is sweeping above them and behind them. Half in the light, half in the shadow, stand armed angels. Their armor is old and worn, and their drawn swords dim and dinted. They stand as if upon the air in formation of battle and look downward with stern faces. The peasants cast themselves on the ground. Peasants. Peasants. Alil. Look no more on the half-closed gates of hell, but speak to me, whose mind is smitten of God, that it may be no more with mortal things, and tell of her who lies there. He seizes one of the angels. Till you speak you shall not drift into eternity. Till you speak. The angel. The light beats down, the gates of pearl are wide and she is passing to the floor of peace, and Mary of the 7 times wounded heart has kissed her lips, and the long blessed hair has fallen on her face. The light of lights looks always on the motive, not the deed, the shadow of shadows on the deed alone. Alil releases the angel and kneels. Alil. Angel. Una. Tell them who walk upon the floor of peace that I would die and go to her I love. The years like great black oxen tread the world, and God the herdsman goads them on behind, and I am broken by their passing feet. A sound of far-off horns seems to come from the heart of the light. The vision melts away, and the forms of the kneeling peasants appear faintly in the darkness. Peasants. The Rose. S. Augustine. S. Augustine. to the rose upon the root of time. Red rose, proud rose, sad rose of all my days. Come near me, while I sing the ancient ways, Cuchulainn battling with the bitter tide, the druid, grey, wood-nurtured, quiet-eyed, who casts round Fergus dreams, and ruin untold, and thine own sadness, whereof stars, grown old in dancing silver sandalled on the sea, sing in their high and lonely melody. Come near, that no more blinded by man's fate, I find under the boughs of love and hate, in all poor foolish things that live a day, eternal beauty wandering on her way. Come near, come near, come near, ah, leave me still a little space for the rose-breath to fill, lest I no more hear common things that crave, the weak worm hiding down in its small cave, the field mouse running by me in the grass, and heavy mortal hopes that toil and pass, but seek alone to hear the strange things said by God to the bright hearts of those long dead, and learn to chaunt a tongue men do not know. Come near, I would, before my time to go, sing of old era and the ancient ways, red rose, proud rose, sad rose of all my days. Fergus and the Druid. Fergus. The whole day have I followed in the rocks, and you have changed and flowed from shape to shape. First as a raven on whose ancient wings scarcely a feather lingered, then you seemed a weasel moving on from stone to stone, and now at last you wear a human shape, a thin grey man half lost in gathering night. Druid. What would you, king of the proud red branch kings? Fergus. This would I say, most wise of living souls. Young subtle Concobar sat close by me when I gave judgment, and his words were wise, and what to me was burden without end, to him seemed easy, so I laid the crown upon his head to cast away my care. Druid. What would you, king of the proud red branch kings? Fergus. I feast amid my people on the hill, and pace the woods, and drive my chariot wheels in the white border of the murmuring sea, and still I feel the crown upon my head. Druid. What would you? Fergus. I would be no more a king but learn the dreaming wisdom that is yours. I would be no more a king. Druid. Look on my thin grey hair and hollow cheeks, and on these hands that may not lift the sword, this body trembling like a wind-blown reed. No woman loves me, no man seeks my help, because I be not of the things I dream. Fergus. A wild and foolish labor is a king, to do and do and do, and never dream. Druid. Take, if you must, this little bag of dreams, unloose the cord, and they will wrap you round. Fergus. I see my life go dripping like a stream from change to change. I have been many things, a green drop in the surge, a gleam of light upon a sword, a fir tree on a hill, an old slave grinding at a heavy quern, a king sitting upon a chair of gold, and all these things were wonderful and great. But now I have grown nothing, being all, and the whole world weighs down upon my heart. Ah! Druid, Druid, how great webs of sorrow lay hidden in the small slate-colored bag. The death of Cuchulainn. A man came slowly from the setting sun, to Forgail's daughter, Emer, in her dun, and found her dyeing cloth with subtle care, and said, casting aside his draggled hair, I am Eliel, the swineherd, whom you bid go dwell upon the sea cliffs vapor hid. But now my years of watching are no more. Then Emer cast the web upon the floor, and stretching out her arms, red with the dye, parted her lips with a loud sudden cry. Looking on her, Eliel, the swineherd, said, Not any god alive, nor mortal dead, has slain so mighty armies, so great kings, nor won the gold that now Cuchulainn brings. Why do you tremble thus from feet to crown? Eliel, the swineherd, wept and cast him down upon the web-heaped floor, and thus his word. With him is one sweet-throated like a bird. Who bade you tell these things? And then she cried to those about, Beat him with thongs of hide, and drive him from the door. And thus it was, and where her son, Fimol, on the smooth grass was driving cattle, came she with swift feet, and called out to him, Son, it is not meet that you stay idling here with flocks and herds. I have long waited, mother, for those words. But wherefore now? There is a man to die. You have the heaviest arm under the sky. My father dwells among the sea-worn bands, and breaks the ridge of battle with his hands. Nay, you are taller than Cuchulainn, son. He is the mightiest man in ship or dun. Nay, he is old and sad with many wars, and weary of the crash of battle cars. I only ask what way my journey lies. For God, who made you bitter, made you wise. The red branch kings a tireless banquet keep, where the sun falls into the western deep. Go there, and dwell on the green forest rim. But tell alone your name and house to him whose blade compels, and bid them send you one who has a like vow from their triple dun. Between the lavish shelter of a wood and the grey tide, the red branch multitude feasted, and with them old Cuchulainn dwelt, and his young dear one close beside him knelt, and gazed upon the wisdom of his eyes, more mournful than the depth of starry skies, and pondered on the wonder of his days, and all around the harp string told his praise, and Concobar, the red branch king of kings, with his own fingers touched the brazen strings. At last Cuchulainn spake, a young man strays, driving the deer along the woody ways. I often hear him singing to and fro. I often hear the sweet sound of his bow. Seek out what man he is. One went and came. He bade me let all know he gives his name at the sword point, and bade me bring him one who had a like vow from our triple dun. I only of the red branch hosted now, Cuchulainn cried, have made and keep that vow. After short fighting in the leafy shade, he spake to the young man. Is there no maid who loves you, no white arms to wrap you round? Or do you long for the dim sleepy ground, that you come here to meet this ancient sword? The dooms of men are in God's hidden hoard. Your head a while seemed like a woman's head, that I loved once. Again the fighting sped, but now the war raged and Cuchulainn woke, and through the other's shield his long blade broke, and pierced him. Speak before your breath is done. I am Fimol, mighty Cuchulainn's son. I put you from your pain. I can no more. While day its burden unto evening bore, with head bowed on his knees Cuchulainn stayed. Then Concobar sent that sweet-throated maid, and she, to win him, his grey hair caressed, in vain her arms, in vain her soft white breast. Then Concobar, the subtlest of all men, ranking his druids round him 10 by 10, spake thus. Cuchulainn will dwell there and brood for 3 days more in dreadful quietude, and then arise, and raving slay us all. Go, cast on him delusions magical, that he might fight the waves of the loud sea. And 10 by 10 under a quickened tree, the druids chaunted, swaying in their hands tall wands of alder, and white quicken wands. In 3 days' time, Cuchulainn with a moan stood up, and came to the long sands alone. For 4 days warred he with the bitter tide, and the waves flowed above him, and he died. And thus it was. There is a man to die. One went and came. Again the fighting sped. Speak before your breath is done. The rose of the world. Who dreamed that beauty passes like a dream? For these red lips, with all their mournful pride, mournful that no new wonder may betide, Troy passed away in one high funeral gleam, and Usna's children died. We in the laboring world are passing by, amid men's souls, that waver and give place, like the pale waters in their wintry race, under the passing stars, foam of the sky, lives on this lonely face. Bow down, archangels, in your dim abode, before you were, or any hearts to beat, weary and kind one lingered by his seat, he made the world to be a grassy road before her wandering feet. The rose of peace. If Michael, leader of God's host when heaven and hell are met, looked down on you from heaven's doorpost he would his deeds forget. Brooding no more upon God's wars and his divine homestead, he would go weave out of the stars a chaplet for your head. And all folks seeing him bow down, and white stars tell your praise, would come at last to God's great town, led on by gentle ways, and God would bid his warfare cease, saying all things were well, and softly make a rosy peace, a peace of heaven with hell. The rose of battle. Rose of all roses, rose of all the world. The tall thought-woven sails, that flap unfurled above the tide of hours, trouble the air, and God's bell buoyed to be the water's care, while hushed from fear, or loud with hope, a band with blown, spray-dabbled hair gather at hand. Turn if you may from battles never done, I call, as they go by me one by one, danger no refuge holds, and war no peace, for him who hears love sing and never cease, beside her clean-swept hearth, her quiet shade, but gather all for whom no love hath made a woven silence, or but came to cast a song into the air, and singing past to smile on the pale dawn, and gather you who have sought more than is in rain or dew or in the sun and moon, or on the earth, or sighs amid the wandering, starry mirth, or comes in laughter from the sea's sad lips and wage God's battles in the long grey ships. The sad, the lonely, the insatiable, to these old nights shall all her mystery tell. God's bell has claimed them by the little cry of their sad hearts, that may not live nor die. Rose of all roses, rose of all the world, you, too, have come where the dim tides are hurled upon the wharves of sorrow, and heard ring the bell that calls us on, the sweet far thing. Beauty grown sad with its eternity made you of us, and of the dim grey sea. Our long ships lose thought-woven sails and wait, for God has bid them share an equal fate, and when at last defeated in his wars, they have gone down under the same white stars, we shall no longer hear the little cry of our sad hearts, that may not live nor die. A Faery Song, sung by the people of Faery over Diarmuid and Grania, who lay in their bridal sleep under a cromlech. We who are old, old and gay, oh so old. Thousands of years, if all were told, give to these children, new from the world, silence and love, and the long dew-dropping hours of the night, and the stars above, give to these children, new from the world, rest far from men. Is anything better, anything better? Tell us it then, us who are old, old and gay, oh so old. Thousands of years, if all were told. The Lake Isle of Innisfree. I will arise and go now, and go to Innisfree, and a small cabin build there, of clay and wattles made, 9 bean rows will I have there, a hive for the honey bee, and live alone in the bee-loud glade. And I shall have some peace there, for peace comes dropping slow, dropping from the vales of the morning to where the cricket sings, their midnights all a glimmer, and noon a purple glow, and evening full of the linnet's wings. I will arise and go now, for always night and day I hear lake water lapping with low sounds by the shore, while I stand on the roadway, or on the pavements grey, I hear it in the deep heart's core. A Cradle Song. Cathiani mi von gilly beg, and here vi Thursday more crina. The angels are stooping above your bed, they weary of trooping with the whimpering dead. God's laughing in heaven to see you so good, the shining 7 are gay with his mood. I kiss you and kiss you, my pigeon, my own, ah, how I shall miss you when you have grown. The pity of love. A pity beyond all telling is hid in the heart of love. The folk who are buying and selling the clouds on their journey above the cold wet winds ever blowing and the shadowy hazel grove where mouse-grey waters are flowing threaten the head that I love. The sorrow of love. The quarrel of the sparrows in the eaves, the full round moon and the star-laden sky, and the loud song of the ever-singing leaves, had hid away earth's old and weary cry. And then you came with those red mournful lips, and with you came the whole of the world's tears and all the trouble of her laboring ships, and all the trouble of her myriad years. And now the sparrows warring in the eaves, the curd pale moon, the white stars in the sky, and the loud chanting of the unquiet leaves, are shaken with earth's old and weary cry. When you are old, when you are old and grey and full of sleep, and nodding by the fire, take down this book, and slowly read, and dream of the soft look your eyes had once, and of their shadows deep. How many loved your moments of glad grace, and loved your beauty will love false or true, but one man loved the pilgrim's soul in you, and loved the sorrows of your changing face. And bending down beside the glowing bars murmur, a little sadly, how love fled and paced upon the mountains overhead and hid his face amid a crowd of stars. The white birds. I would that we were, my beloved, white birds on the foam of the sea. We tire of the flame of the meteor, before it can fade and flee, and the flame of the blue star of twilight, hung low on the rim of the sky, has awaked in our hearts, my beloved, a sadness that may not die. A weariness comes from those dreamers, dew-dabbled, the lily and rose, ah, dream not of them, my beloved, the flame of the meteor that goes, or the flame of the blue star that lingers hung low in the fall of the dew, for I would we were changed to white birds on the wandering foam, I and you. I am haunted by numberless islands, and many a Danaan shore, where time would surely forget us, and sorrow come near us no more, soon far from the rose and the lily, and fret of the flames would we be, were we only white birds, my beloved, buoyed out on the foam of the sea. A dream of death. I dreamed that one had died in a strange place near no accustomed hand, and they had nailed the boards above her face, the peasants of that land, wondering to lay her in that solitude, and raised above her mound a cross they had made out of 2 bits of wood, and planted cypress round, and left her to the indifferent stars above until I carved these words: she was more beautiful than thy first love, but now lies under boards. A dream of a blessed spirit. All the heavy days are over. Leave the body's colored pride underneath the grass and clover, with the feet laid side by side. One with her are mirth and duty, bear the gold-embroidered dress, for she needs not her sad beauty to the scented oaken press. Hers the kiss of Mother Mary, the long hair is on her face, still she goes with footsteps wary, full of earth's old timid grace. With white feet of angels 7 her white feet go glimmering, and above the deep of heaven, flame on flame and wing on wing. Who goes with Fergus? Who will go drive with Fergus now, and pierce the deep wood's woven shade, and dance upon the level shore? Young man, lift up your russet brow, and lift your tender eyelids, maid, and brood on hopes and fears no more. And no more turn aside and brood upon love's bitter mystery, for Fergus rules the brazen cars, and rules the shadows of the wood, and the white breast of the dim sea, and all disheveled wandering stars. The man who dreamed a fair island. He stood among the crowd at Dromahair. His heart hung all upon a silken dress, and he had known at last some tenderness, before earth made of him her sleepy care. But when a man poured fish into a pile, it seemed they raised their little silver heads, and sang how day a druid twilight sheds upon a dim, green, well-beloved isle, where people love beside star-laden seas. How time may never mar their fairy vows under the woven roofs of quickened boughs. The singing shook him out of his new ease. He wandered by the sands of Lisadil. His mind ran all on money, cares, and fears, and he had known at last some prudent years before they heaped his grave under the hill. But while he passed before a plashy place, a lugworm with its grey and muddy mouth sang how somewhere to north or west or south there dwelt a gay, exulting, gentle race, and how beneath those 3 times blessed skies a Danaan fruitage makes a shower of moons, and as it falls awakens leafy tunes, and at that singing he was no more wise. He mused beside the well of Scanavin, he mused upon his mockers. Without fail his sudden vengeance were a country tale, now that deep earth has drunk his body in. But one small knot grass growing by the pool told where, ah, little, all a needed voice. Old silence bids a lonely folk rejoice, and chaplet their calm brows with leafage cool, and how, when fades the sea-strewn rose of day, a gentle feeling wraps them like a fleece, and all their trouble dies into its peace. The tale drove his fine angry mood away. He slept under the hill of Lugnagal, and might have known at last unhaunted sleep under that cold and vapor-turbaned steep, now that old earth had taken man and all, were not the worms that spired about his bones telling with their low and reedy cry, of how God leans his hands out of the sky, to bless that isle with honey in his tones. That none may feel the power of squall and wave, and no one any leaf-crowned dancer miss until he burn up nature with a kiss. The man has found no comfort in the grave. The dedication to a book of stories selected from the Irish novelists. There was a green branch hung with many a bell when her own people ruled in wave-worn era, and from its murmuring greenness, calm of faery, a druid kindness, on all hearers fell. It charmed away the merchant from his guile, and turned the farmer's memory from his cattle, and hushed in sleep the roaring ranks of battle, for all who heard it dreamed a little while. Ah, exiles wandering over many seas, spinning at all times era's good tomorrow. Ah, worldwide nation, always growing sorrow. I also bear a bell branch full of ease. I tore it from green boughs winds tossed and hurled, green boughs of tossing always weary, weary. I tore it from the green boughs of old era, the willow of the many-sorrowed world. Ah, exiles, wandering over many lands. My bell branch murmurs. The gay bells bring laughter, leaping to shake a cobweb from the rafter. The sad bells bow the forehead on the hands. A honeyed ringing, under the new skies they bring you memories of old village faces, cabins gone now, old well-sides, old dear places, and men who loved the cause that never dies. The lamentation of the old pensioner. I had a chair at every hearth, when no one turned to see, with, "Look at that old fellow there!" and who may he be? And therefore do I wander now, and the fret lies on me. The roadside trees keep murmuring, ah, wherefore murmur ye, as in the old days long gone by, green oak and poplar tree? The well-known faces are all gone, and the fret lies on me. The Ballad of Father Gilligan. The old priest Peter Gilligan was weary night and day, for half his flock were in their beds, or under green sods lay. Once, while he nodded on a chair, at the moth hour of eve, another poor man sent for him, and he began to grieve. I have no rest, nor joy, nor peace, for people die and die. And after cried he, God forgive! My body spake, not I. He knelt, and leaning on the chair he prayed and fell asleep, and the moth hour went from the fields, and stars began to peep. They slowly into millions grew, and leaves shook in the wind, and God covered the world with shade, and whispered to mankind. Upon the time of sparrow chirp when the moths came once more, the old priest Peter Gilligan stood upright on the floor. Mavrone, Mavrone, the man has died. While I slept on the chair, he roused his horse out of its sleep, and rode with little care. He rode now as he never rode, by Rocky Lane and Finn. The sick man's wife opened the door. Father! You come again! And is the poor man dead? He cried. He died an hour ago. The old priest Peter Gilligan in grief swayed to and fro. When you were gone, he turned and died, as merry as a bird. The old priest Peter Gilligan he knelt him at that word. He who hath made the night of stars, for souls who tire and bleed, sent one of his great angels down, to help me in my need. He who is wrapped in purple robes, with planets in his care, had pity on the least of things, asleep upon a chair. The two trees. Beloved, gaze in thine own heart, the holy tree is growing there. From joy the holy branches start, and all the trembling flowers they bear. The changing colors of its fruit have dowered the stars with merry light. The surety of its hidden root has planted quiet in the night. The shaking of its leafy head has given the waves their melody, and made my lips in music wed, murmuring a wizard's song for thee. There, through bewildered branches, go winged loves borne on in gentle strife, tossing and tossing to and fro the flaming circle of our life. When looking on their shaken hair, and dreaming how they dance and dart, thine eyes grow full of tender care. Beloved, gaze in thine own heart. Gaze no more in the bitter glass the demons, with their subtle guile, lift up before us when they pass, or only gaze a little while, for there a fatal image grows, with broken boughs, and blackened leaves, and roots half hidden under snows driven by a storm that ever grieves. For all things turn to barrenness in the dim glass the demons hold, the glass of outer weariness, made when God slept in times of old. There, through the broken branches, go the ravens of unresting thought, peering and flying to and fro to see men's souls bartered and bought. When they are heard upon the wind, and when they shake their wings, alas! Thy tender eyes grow all unkind, gaze no more in the bitter glass. To Ireland in the coming times. Know that I would accounted be true brother of that company, who sang to sweeten Ireland's wrong, ballad and story, ran and song, nor be I any less of them, because the red rose bordered hem of her, whose history began before God made the angelic clan, trails all about the written page. For in the world's first blossoming age the light fall of her flying feet made Ireland's heart begin to beat. And still the starry candles flare to help her light foot here and there, and still the thoughts of Ireland brood upon her holy quietude. Nor may I less be counted one with Davis, Mangan, Ferguson, because to him, who ponders well, my rhymes more than their rhyming tell of the dim wisdoms old and deep, that God gives unto man in sleep. For the elemental beings go about my table to and fro. In flood and fire and clay and wind, they huddle from man's pondering mind, yet he who treads in austere ways may surely meet their ancient gaze. Man ever journeys on with them after the red rose bordered hem. Ah, fairies, dancing under the moon, a druid land, a druid tune! While still I may, I write for you the love I lived, the dream I knew. From our birthday, until we die, is but the winking of an eye, and we, our singing and our love, the mariners of night above, and all the wizard things that go about my table to and fro, are passing on to where may be, in truth's consuming ecstasy, no place for love and dream at all, for God goes by with white footfall. I cast my heart into my rhymes, that you, in the dim coming times, may know how my heart went with them after the red rose bordered him. The Land of Heart's Desire. William Blake. William Blake. Mortine Bruin. Mortine Bruin. Bridget Bruin. Bridget Bruin. Sean Bruin. Sean Bruin. Mary Bruin. Mary Bruin. Father Heart. Father Heart. A fairy child. A fairy child. The scene is laid in the barony of Kilmacowan, in the county of Sligo, and at a remote time. Scene. A room with a hearth on the floor in the middle of a deep alcove to the right. There are benches in the alcove and a table, and a crucifix on the wall. The alcove is full of a glow of light from the fire. There is an open door facing the audience to the left, and to the left of this a bench. Through the door one can see the forest. It is night, but the moon or a late sunset glimmers through the trees and carries the eye far off into a vague, mysterious world. Mortine Bruin, Sean Bruin, and Bridget Bruin sit in the alcove at the table or about the fire. They are dressed in the costume of some remote time, and near them sits an old priest, Father Heart. He may be dressed as a friar. There is food and drink upon the table. Mary Bruin stands by the door reading a book. If she looks up, she can see through the door into the wood. Scene. Mortine Bruin. Sean Bruin. Bridget Bruin. Father Heart. Mary Bruin. Bridget. Because I bid her clean the pots for supper, she took that old book down out of the thatch. She has been doubled over it ever since. We should be deafened by her groans and moans had she to work as some do, Father Heart. Get up at dawn like me and mend and scour, or ride abroad in the boisterous night like you, the picks and blessed bread under your arm. Sean. Mother, you are too cross. Bridget. You've married her, and fear to vex her, and so take her part. You've married her. Mortine, to Father Heart. Father Heart. It is but right that youth should side with youth. She quarrels with my wife a bit at times, and is too deep just now in the old book. But do not blame her greatly. She will grow as quiet as a puffball in a tree when but the moons of marriage dawn and die for half a score of times. Father Heart. Their hearts are wild, as be the hearts of birds, till children come. Their hearts are wild. Bridget. She would not mind the kettle, milk the cow, or even lay the knives and spread the cloth. Sean. Mother, if only. Mortine. Sean, this is half empty. Go, bring up the best bottle that we have. Sean, this is half empty. Father Heart. I never saw her read a book before, what can it be? Mortine, to Sean. Sean. What are you waiting for? You must not shake it when you draw the cork. It's precious wine, so take your time about it. What are you waiting for? To priest. Sean goes. Sean. There was a Spaniard wrecked at Ochra's Head, when I was young, and I have still some bottles. He cannot bear to hear her blamed. The book has lain up in the thatch these 50 years. My father told me my grandfather wrote it, and killed a heifer for the binding of it, but supper's spread, and we can talk and eat. It was little good he got out of the book, because it filled his house with rambling fiddlers, and rambling ballad makers and the like. The griddle bread is there in front of you. Colleen, what is the wonder in that book, that you must leave the bread to cool? Had I or had my father read or written books, there were no stocking stuffed with yellow guineas to come when I am dead to Sean and you. Father Heart. You should not fill your head with foolish dreams. What are you reading? Mary. How a Princess Edane, a daughter of a king of Ireland, heard a voice singing on a May eve like this, and followed half awake and half asleep, until she came into the land of Faery, where nobody gets old and godly and grave, where nobody gets old and crafty and wise, where nobody gets old and bitter of tongue. And she is still there, busied with a dance deep in the dewy shadow of a wood, or where stars walk upon a mountain top. How a Princess Edane. Mortine. Persuade the colleen to put down the book. My grandfather would mutter just such things, and he was no judge of a dog or a horse, and any idle boy could blarney him. Just speak your mind. Father Heart. Put it away, my colleen. God spreads the heavens above us like great wings and gives a little round of deeds and days, and then come the wrecked angels and set snares, and bait them with light hopes and heavy dreams, until the heart is puffed with pride and goes half shuddering and half joyous from God's peace. And it was some wrecked angel, blind with tears, who flattered a Dane's heart with merry words. My Colleen, I have seen some other girls restless and ill at ease, but years went by and they grew like their neighbors and were glad and minding children, working at the churn, and gossiping of weddings and of wakes. For life moves out of a red flare of dreams into a common light of common hours, until old age bring the red flare again. Put it away, my Colleen. Mortine. That's true, but she's too young to know it's true. Bridget. She's old enough to know that it is wrong to mope and idle. Mortine. I've little blame for her. She's dull when my big son is in the fields, and that and maybe this good woman's tongue have driven her to hide among her dreams like children from the dark under the bedclothes. I've little blame for her. Bridget. She'd never do a turn if I were silent. Mortine. And maybe it is natural upon May Eve to dream of the good people. But tell me, girl, if you've the branch of blessed quicken would that women hang upon the post of the door that they may send good luck into the house. Remember they may steal new married brides after the fall of twilight on May Eve, or what old women mutter at the fire is but a pack of lies. Father Hart. It may be truth. We do not know the limit of those powers God has permitted to the evil spirits for some mysterious end. You have done right to marry, it's well to keep old innocent customs up. It may be truth. Mary Bruin has taken a bough of quicken wood from a seat and hung it on a nail in the doorpost. A girl child strangely dressed, perhaps in fairy green, comes out of the wood and takes it away. Mary Bruin. Mary. I had no sooner hung it on the nail before a child ran up out of the wind. She has caught it in her hand and fondled it. Her face is pale as water before dawn. Father Hart. Whose child can this be? Mortine. No one's child at all. She often dreams that someone has gone by, when there was nothing but a puff of wind. No one's child at all. Mary. They have taken away the blessed quicken wood, they will not bring good luck into the house, yet I am glad that I was courteous to them, for are not they, likewise, children of God? Father Hart. Colleen, they are the children of the fiend, and they have power until the end of time, when God shall fight with them a great pitched battle and hack them into pieces. Mary. He will smile, Father, perhaps, and open his great door. He will smile. Father Hart. Did but the lawless angels see that door they would fall, slain by everlasting peace, and when such angels knock upon our doors, who goes with them must drive through the same storm. A thin old arm comes round the doorpost, and knocks and beckons. It is clearly seen in the silvery light. Mary Bruin goes to door and stands in it for a moment. Mortine Bruin is busy filling Father Hart's plate. Bridget Bruin stirs the fire. Mary Bruin. Mortine Bruin. Father Hart's. Bridget Bruin. Mary coming to table. There's somebody out there that beckoned me and raised her hand as though it held a cup, and she was drinking from it, so it may be that she is thirsty. She takes milk from the table and carries it to the door. Father Hart. That will be the child that you would have. It was no child at all. That will be the child. Bridget. And maybe, Father, what he said was true, for there is not another night in the year so wicked as tonight. Mortine. Nothing can harm us while the good Father's underneath our roof. Nothing can harm us. Mary. A little queer old woman dressed in green. Bridget. The good people beg for milk and fire upon May Eve. Woe to the house that gives, for they have power upon it for a year. Mortine. Hush, woman, hush. Bridget. She's given milk away. I knew she would bring evil on the house. She's given milk away. Mortine. Who was it? Mary. Both the tongue and face were strange. Both the tongue and face were strange. Mortine. Some strangers came last week to Clover Hill. She must be one of them. Bridget. I am afraid. I am afraid. Father Hart. The cross will keep all evil from the house while it hangs there. Mortine. Come, sit beside me, Colleen, and put away your dreams of discontent, for I would have you light up my last days like the good glow of the turf, and when I die you'll be the wealthiest hereabout, for, Colleen, I have a stocking full of yellow guineas hidden away where nobody can find it. Come, sit beside me, Colleen. Bridget. You are the fool of every pretty face, and I must spare and pinch that my son's wife may have all kinds of ribbons for her head. Mortine. Do not be cross, she is a right good girl. The butter is by your elbow, Father Hart. My Colleen, have not fate and time and change done well for me and for old Bridget there? We have 100 acres of good land, and sit beside each other at the fire. I have this reverend father for my friend, I look upon your face and my son's face, we've put his plate by yours, and here he comes, and brings with him the only thing we have lacked, abundance of good wine. Sean comes in, stir up the fire, and put new turf upon it till it blaze, to watch the turf smoke coiling from the fire, and feel content and wisdom in your heart. This is the best of life. When we are young we long to tread a way none trod before, but find the excellent old way through love, and through the care of children, to the hour for bidding fate and time and change goodbye. Sean. Mary takes a sod of turf from the fire and goes out through the door. Sean follows her and meets her coming in. Mary. Sean. Sean. What is it draws you to the chill o' the wood? There is a light among the stems of the trees that makes one shiver. Mary. A little queer old man made me a sign to show he wanted fire to light his pipe. A little queer old man. Bridget. You've given milk and fire upon the unluckiest night of the year and brought, for all you know, evil upon the house. Before you married you were idle and fine and went about with ribbons on your head, and now, no, father, I will speak my mind, she is not a fitting wife for any man. You've given milk and fire. Sean. Be quiet, mother. Mortine. You are much too cross. You are much too cross. Mary. What do I care if I have given this house, where I must hear all day a bitter tongue, into the power of fairies? Bridget. You know well how calling the good people by that name, or talking of them over much at all, may bring all kinds of evil on the house. You know well. Mary. Come, fairies, take me out of this dull house. Let me have all the freedom I have lost, work when I will and idle when I will. Fairies, come take me out of this dull world, for I would ride with you upon the wind. Run on the top of the disheveled tide, and dance upon the mountains like a flame. Father Hart. You cannot know the meaning of your words. Mary. Father, I am right weary of four tongues, a tongue that is too crafty and too wise, a tongue that is too godly and too grave, a tongue that is more bitter than the tide, and a kind tongue too full of drowsy love and my captivity. Sean Bruin leads her to a seat at the left of the door. Sean Bruin. Sean. Do not blame me, I often lie awake thinking that all things trouble your bright head. How beautiful it is, your broad pale forehead under a cloudy blossoming of hair. Sit down beside me here, these are too old, and have forgotten they were ever young. Mary. Oh, you are the great doorpost of this house, and I the branch of blessed quickenwood, and if I could I'd hang upon the post, till I had brought good luck into the house. She would put her arms about him, but looks shyly at the priest and lets her arms fall. Father Hart. My daughter, take his hand, by love alone God binds us to himself and to the hearth, that shuts us from the waste beyond his peace, from maddening freedom and bewildering light. Sean. Would that the world were mine to give it you, and not its quiet hearths alone, but even all that bewilderment of light and freedom, if you would have it. Mary. I would take the world and break it into pieces in my hands to see you smile watching it crumble away. I would take the world. Sean. Then I would mold a world of fire and dew, with no one bitter, grave, or overwise, and nothing marred or old to do you wrong, and crowd the enraptured quiet of the sky with candles burning to your lonely face. Mary. Your looks are all the candles that I need. Sean. Once a fly dancing in a beam of the sun, or the light wind blowing out of the dawn, could fill your heart with dreams none other knew, but now the indissoluble sacrament has mixed your heart that was most proud and cold with my warm heart forever. The sun and moon must fade and heaven be rolled up like a scroll, but your white spirit still walk by my spirit. A voice singing in the wood. Mortine. There's someone singing. Why, it's but a child. It sang, "The lonely of heart is withered away." A strange song for a child, but she sings sweetly. Listen, listen! Goes to door. Mary. Oh, cling close to me, because I have said wicked things tonight. Oh, cling close to me. The voice. The wind blows out of the gates of the day, the wind blows over the lonely of heart, and the lonely of heart is withered away. While the fairies dance in a place apart, shaking their milk-white feet in a ring, tossing their milk-white arms in the air, for they hear the wind laugh and murmur and sing of a land where even the old are fair, and even the wise are merry of tongue. But I heard a reed of Coolany say, "When the wind has laughed and murmured and sung, the lonely of heart is withered away." Mortine. Being happy, I would have all others happy, so I will bring her in out of the cold. He brings in the fairy child. The child. I tire of winds and waters and pale lights. Mortine. And that's no wonder, for when night has fallen the wood's a cold and a bewildering place, but you are welcome here. The child. I am welcome here. For when I tire of this warm little house there is one here that must away, away. I am welcome here. Mortine. Oh, listen to her dreamy and strange talk. Are you not cold? The child. I will crouch down beside you, for I have run a long, long way this night. I will crouch down beside you. Bridget. You have a comely shape. Mortine. Your hair is wet. Your hair is wet. Bridget. I'll warm your chilly feet. Mortine. You have come indeed a long, long way, for I have never seen your pretty face, and must be tired and hungry. Here is some bread and wine. You have come indeed. The child. The wine is bitter. Old mother, have you no sweet food for me? The wine is bitter. Bridget. I have some honey. She goes into the next room. Mortine. You have coaxing ways. The mother was quite cross before you came. You have coaxing ways. Bridget returns with the honey and fills a porringer with milk. Bridget. Bridget. She is the child of gentle people. Look at her white hands and at her pretty dress. I've brought you some new milk, but wait a while and I will put it to the fire to warm, for things well fitted for poor folk like us would never please a high-born child like you. The child. From dawn, when you must blow the fire ablaze, you work your fingers to the bone, old mother. The young may lie in bed and dream and hope, but you must work your fingers to the bone because your heart is old. Bridget. The young are idle. The young are idle. The child. Your memories have made you wise, old father. The young must sigh through many a dream and hope, but you are wise because your heart is old. Bridget gives her more bread and honey. Bridget. Mortine. Oh, who would think to find so young a girl loving old age and wisdom? The child. No more, mother. No more, mother. Mortine. What a small bite. The milk is ready now. Hands it to her. What a small sip. The child. Put on my shoes, old mother. Now I would like to dance now I have eaten. The reeds are dancing by Coolany Lake, and I would like to dance until the reeds and the white waves have danced themselves asleep. Put on my shoes, old mother. Bridget puts on the shoes, and the child is about to dance, but suddenly sees the crucifix and shrieks and covers her eyes. Bridget. Child. What is that ugly thing on the black cross? Father Heart. You cannot know how naughty your words are. That is our blessed Lord. The child. Hide it away. Hide it away. Bridget. I have begun to be afraid again. The child. Hide it away. Hide it away. Mortine. That would be wickedness. Bridget. That would be sacrilege. The child. The tortured thing. Hide it away. The tortured thing. Mortine. Her parents are to blame. Her parents are to blame. Father Heart. That is the image of the Son of God. The child caressing him. Hide it away, hide it away. Mortine. No, no. No, no. Father Heart. Because you are so young and like a bird, that must take fright at every stir of the leaves, I will go take it down. The child. Hide it away. and cover it out of sight and out of mind. Hide it away. Father Hart takes crucifix from wall and carries it towards inner room. Father Hart. Father Hart. Since you have come into this barony, I will instruct you in our blessed faith, and being so keen-witted you'll soon learn. To the others. We must be tender to all budding things. Our Maker let no thought of Calvary trouble the morning stars in their first song. Puts crucifix in inner room. The child. Here is level ground for dancing. I will dance. Sings. The wind blows out of the gates of the day, the wind blows over the lonely of heart, and the lonely of heart is withered away. She dances? Mary to Sean. Sean. Just now when she came near I thought I heard other small steps beating upon the floor, and a faint music blowing in the wind, invisible pipes giving her feet the tune. Sean. I heard no steps but hers. Mary. I hear them now, the unholy powers are dancing in the house. I hear them now. Mortine. Come over here, and if you promise me not to talk wickedly of holy things I will give you something. The child. Bring it me, old father. Bring it me, old father. Mortine. Here are some ribbons that I bought in the town for my son's wife, but she will let me give them to tie up that wild hair the winds have tumbled. The child. Come, tell me, do you love me? Mortine. Yes, I love you. Yes, I love you. The child. Ah, but you love this fireside. Do you love me? Father Hart. When the Almighty puts so great a share of His own ageless youth into a creature, to look is but to love. The child. But you love Him? But you love Him? Bridget. She is blaspheming. The child. And do you love me too? And do you love me too? Mary. I do not know. The child. You love that young man there, yet I could make you ride upon the winds, run on the top of the disheveled tide, and dance upon the mountains like a flame. You love that young man there. Mary. Queen of angels and kind saints, defend us. Some dreadful thing will happen. A while ago she took away the blessed quickenwood. Father Hart. You fear because of her unmeasured prattle. She knows no better. Child, how old are you? The child. When winter sleep is abroad my hair grows thin, my feet unsteady. When the leaves awaken my mother carries me in her golden arms. I'll soon put on my womanhood and marry the spirits of wood and water. But who can tell when I was born for the first time? I think I am much older than the eagle cock that blinks and blinks on Ballygolly Hill, and he is the oldest thing under the moon. Father Hart. Oh, she is of the fairy people. The child. One called, I sent my messengers for milk and fire, she called again and after that I came. One called. All except Sean and Mary Bruin gather behind the priest for protection. Sean. Mary Bruin. Sean rising. Though you have made all these obedient, you have not charmed my sight and won from me a wish or gift to make you powerful. I'll turn you from the house. Father Hart. No, I will face her. No, I will face her. The child. Because you took away the crucifix I am so mighty that there's none can pass, unless I will it, where my feet have danced or where I've whirled my fingertops. Sean tries to approach her and cannot. Sean. Mortine. Look, look! There's something stops him. Look how he moves his hands as though he rubbed them on a wall of glass. Look, look! Father Hart. I will confront this mighty spirit alone. Be not afraid, the Father is with us, the holy martyrs and the innocents, the adoring magi in their coats of mail, and he who died and rose on the third day, and all the 9 angelic hierarchies. The child kneels upon the settle beside Mary and puts her arms about her. Child. Mary. Cry, daughter, to the angels and the saints. The child. You shall go with me, newly married bride, and gaze upon a merrier multitude. White-armed Nuala, Angus of the birds, Ficra of the hurtling foam, and him who is the ruler of the western host, Finvara, and their land of heart's desire, where beauty has no ebb, decay no flood, but joy is wisdom, time an endless song. I kiss you and the world begins to fade. Sean. Awake out of that trance, and cover up your eyes and ears. Father Hart. She must both look and listen, for only the soul's choice can save her now. Come over to me, daughter, stand beside me, think of this house and of your duties in it. She must both look and listen. The child. Stay and come with me, newly married bride, for if you hear him you grow like the rest. Bear children, cook, and bend above the churn, and wrangle over butter, fowl, and eggs, until at last, grown old and bitter of tongue, you're crouching there and shivering at the grave. Father Heart. Daughter, I point you out the way to heaven. The child. But I can lead you, newly married bride, where nobody gets old and crafty and wise, where nobody gets old and godly and grave, where nobody gets old and bitter of tongue, and where kind tongues bring no captivity, for we are but obedient to the thoughts that drift into the mind at a wink of the eye. Father Heart. By the dear name of the one crucified, I bid you, Mary Bruin, come to me. The child. I keep you in the name of your own heart. Father Heart. It is because I put away the crucifix that I am nothing, and my power is nothing. I'll bring it here again. Mortine, clinging to him. No. No. Bridget. Do not leave us. Do not leave us. Father Heart. Oh, let me go before it is too late. It is my sin alone that brought it all. Singing outside. The child. I hear them sing. Come, newly married bride, come, to the woods and waters and pale lights. Mary. I will go with you. Father Heart. She is lost, alas! She is lost, alas! The child, standing by the door. But clinging mortal hope must fall from you, for we who ride the winds, run on the waves, and dance upon the mountains are more light than dewdrops on the banner of the dawn. Mary. Oh, take me with you. Sean. Beloved, I will keep you. I've more than words, I have these arms to hold you, nor all the fairy hosts, do what they please, shall ever make me loosen you from these arms. Beloved, I will keep you. Mary. Dear face. Dear voice. The child. Come, newly married bride. Come, newly married bride. Mary. I always loved her world, and yet. The child. White bird, come with me, little bird. Mary. She calls me. The child. Come with me, little bird. Come with me, little bird. Distant dancing figures appear in the wood. Mary. I can hear songs and dancing. Sean. Stay with me. Stay with me. Mary. I think that I would stay, and yet. The child. Come, little bird, with crest of gold. Mary, very softly. And yet. The child. Come, little bird with silver feet. Mary Bruin dies, and the child goes. Mary Bruin. Child. Sean. She is dead. She is dead. Bridget. Come from that image, body and soul are gone. You have thrown your arms about a drift of leaves, or bowl of an ash tree changed into her image. Father Heart. Thus do the spirits of evil snatch their prey, almost out of the very hand of God, and day by day their power is more and more, and men and women leave old paths, for pride comes knocking with thin knuckles on the heart. Outside there are dancing figures, and it may be a white bird, and many voices singing, smiley face. The wind blows out of the gates of the day, the wind blows over the lonely of heart, and the lonely of heart is withered away, while the fairies dance in a place apart, shaking their milk-white feet in a ring, tossing their milk-white arms in the air, for they hear the wind laugh and murmur and sing of a land where even the old are fair, and even the wise are merry of tongue. But I heard a reed of Coolany say, when the wind has laughed and murmured and sung, the lonely of heart is withered away. Crossways. William Blake. William Blake. The Song of the Happy Shepherd. The woods of Arcady are dead, and over is their antique joy. Of old the world undreaming fed. Grey truth is now her painted toy, yet still she turns her restless head. But oh, sick children of the world, of all the many changing things in dreary dancing past us whirled, to the crack tune that Kronos sings, words alone are certain good. Where are now the warring kings, word be mockers, by the rude where are now the warring kings? An idle word is now their glory, by the stammering schoolboy said, reading some entangled story. The kings of the old time are fled, the wandering earth herself may be only a sudden flaming word, in clanging space a moment heard, troubling the endless reverie. Then nowise worship dusty deeds, nor seek, for this is also sooth, to hunger fiercely after truth, lest all thy toiling only breeds new dreams, new dreams. There is no truth saving in thine own heart. Seek, then, no learning from the starry men, who follow with the optic glass the whirling ways of stars that pass. Seek, then, for this is also sooth, no word of theirs. The cold star-bane has cloven and rent their hearts in twain, and dead is all their human truth. Go gather by the humming sea some twisted, echo-harboring shell, and to its lips thy story tell, and they thy comforters will be, rewarding in melodious guile thy fretful words a little while, till they shall singing fade in ruth, and die a pearly brotherhood. For words alone are certain good. Sing, then, for this is also sooth. I must be gone. There is a grave where daffodil and lily wave, and I would please the hapless fawn, buried under the sleepy ground, with mirthful songs before the dawn. His shouting days with mirth were crowned, and still I dream he treads the lawn, walking ghostly in the dew, pierced by my glad singing through my songs of old earth's dreamy youth. But ah! She dreams not now, dream thou! For fair are poppies on the brow. Dream, dream, for this is also sooth. The Sad Shepherd. There was a man whom sorrow named his friend, and he, of his high comrade sorrow dreaming, went walking with slow steps along the gleaming and humming sands, where windy surges wend, and he called loudly to the stars to bend from their pale thrones and comfort him. But they among themselves laugh on and sing alway. And then the man whom sorrow named his friend cried out, Dim sea, hear my most piteous story. The sea swept on and cried her old cry still, rolling along in dreams from hill to hill. He fled the persecution of her glory and, in a far-off, gentle valley stopping, cried all his story to the dewdrops glistening. But not they heard, for they are always listening, the dewdrops, for the sound of their own dropping. And then the man whom sorrow named his friend sought once again the shore, and found a shell, and thought, I will my heavy story tell till my own words, re-echoing, shall send their sadness through a hollow, pearly heart, and my own tale again for me shall sing, and my own whispering words be comforting, and lo! My ancient burden may depart. Then he sang softly nigh the pearly rim, but the sad dweller by the seaway's lone changed all he sang to inarticulate moan among her wildering whirls, forgetting him. The cloak, the boat, and the shoes. What do you make so fair and bright? I make the cloak of sorrow. Oh, lovely to see in all men's sight. Shall be the cloak of sorrow. In all men's sight. What do you build with sails for flight? I build a boat for sorrow. Oh, swift on the seas all day and night saileth the rover sorrow. All day and night. What do you weave with wool so white? I weave the shoes of sorrow. Soundless shall be the footfall light in all men's ears of sorrow. Sudden and light. Anasuya and Vijaya. A little Indian temple in the golden age. Around it a garden, around that the forest. Anasuya, the young priestess, kneeling within the temple. Anasuya. Anasuya. Send peace on all the lands and flickering corn dot. Oh, may tranquility walk by his elbow when wandering in the forest, if he love no other dot. Here, and may the indolent flocks be plentiful dot, and if he love another, may panthers end him dot. Here, and load our king with wisdom hour by hour dot. May we two stand, when we are dead, beyond the setting suns, a little from the other shades apart, with mingling hair, and play upon one lute. Vijaya, entering and throwing a lily at her. Hail! Hail, my Anasuya! Anasuya! No, be still. I, priestess of this temple, offer up prayers for the land. No, be still. Vijaya. I will wait here, Amrita. I will wait here, Amrita. Anasuya. By mighty Brahma's ever-rustling robe, who is Amrita? Sorrow of all sorrows. Another fills your mind. Vijaya. My mother's name. My mother's name. Anasuya sings, coming out of the temple. A sad, sad thought went by me slowly. Sigh, oh you little stars. Oh, sigh and shake your blue apparel. The sad, sad thought has gone from me now wholly. Sing, oh you little stars. Oh, sing and raise your rapturous carol to mighty Brahma, he who made you many as the sands, and laid you on the gates of evening with his quiet hands. Sits down on the steps of the temple. Vijaya, I have brought my evening rice. The sun has laid his chin on the grey wood, weary, with all his poppies gathered round him. Vijaya. The hour when Kama, full of sleepy laughter, rises, and showers abroad his fragrant arrows, piercing the twilight with their murmuring barbs. Anasuya. See how the sacred old flamingos come, painting with shadow all the marble steps. Aged and wise, they seek their wonted perches within the temple, devious walking, made to wander by their melancholy minds. Yon tall one eyes my supper, swiftly chase him far, far away. I named him after you. He is a famous fisher, hour by hour he ruffles with his bill the minnowed streams. Ah! There he snaps my rice. I told you so. Now cuff him off. He's off! A kiss for you, because you saved my rice. Have you no thanks? Vijaya sings. Sing you of her, O first few stars, whom Brahma, touching with his finger, praises, for you hold the van of wandering quiet. Ere you be too calm and old, sing, turning in your cars, sing, till you raise your hands and sigh, and from your car heads peer, with all your whirling hair, and drop many an azure tear. Anasuya. What know the pilots of the stars of tears? Vijaya. Their faces are all worn, and in their eyes flashes the fire of sadness, for they see the icicles that famish all the north, where men lie frozen in the glimmering snow, and in the flaming forests cower the lion and lioness, with all their whimpering cubs, and ever pacing on the verge of things, the phantom beauty in a mist of tears, while we alone have round us woven woods, and feel the softness of each other's hand, Amrita, while Anasuya, going away from him. Ah me, you love another. Ah me, you love another. Bursting into tears. And may some dreadful ill befall her quick. Vijaya. I loved another, now I love no other. Among the mouldering of ancient woods you live, and on the village border she, with her old father the blind woodcutter. I saw her standing in her door but now. Anasuya. Vijaya, swear to love her nevermore. Vijaya. Aye. Anasuya. Swear by the parents of the gods, dread oath, who dwell on sacred Himalaya, on the far golden peak, enormous shapes, who still were old when the great sea was young, on their vast faces mystery and dreams. Their hair along the mountains rolled and filled from year to year by the unnumbered nests of awless birds, and round their stirless feet the joyous flocks of deer and antelope, who never hear the unforgiving hound. Swear! Swear by the parents of the gods. Vijaya. By the parents of the gods I swear. By the parents of the gods I swear. Anasuya sings. I have forgiven, O new star. Maybe you have not heard of us, you have come forth so newly, you hunter of the fields afar. Ah, you will know my loved one by his hunter's arrows truly, shoot on him shafts of quietness, that he may ever keep an inner laughter, and may kiss his hands to me in sleep. Farewell, Vijaya. Nay, no word, no word. I, priestess of this temple, offer up prayers for the land. Vijaya goes. Vijaya. O Brahma, guard in sleep the merry lambs and the complacent kine, the flies below the leaves, and the young mice in the tree roots, and all the sacred flocks of red flamingo, and my love, Vijaya, and may no restless fay with fidget finger trouble his sleeping, give him dreams of me. O Brahma, guard in sleep. The Indian upon God. I passed along the water's edge below the humid trees, my spirit rocked in evening light, the rushes round my knees, my spirit rocked in sleep and sighs, and saw the moorfowl pace all dripping on a grassy slope, and saw them cease to chase each other round in circles, and heard the eldest speak, who holds the world between his bill and made us strong or weak is an undying moorfowl, and he lives beyond the sky. The rains are from his dripping wing, the moonbeams from his eye. I passed a little further on and heard a lotus talk, who made the world and ruleth it, he hangeth on a stalk, for I am in his image made, and all this tinkling tide is but a sliding drop of rain between his petals wide. A little way within the gloom a roebuck raised his eyes brimful of starlight, and he said, the stamper of the skies, he is a gentle roebuck, for how else, I pray, could he conceive a thing so sad and soft, a gentle thing like me? I passed a little further on and heard a peacock say, Who made the grass and made the worms and made my feathers gay? He is a monstrous peacock, and he waveth all the night his languid tail above us, lit with myriad spots of light. The Indian to his love. The island dreams under the dawn, and great boughs drop tranquillity. The peahens dance on a smooth lawn, a parrot sways upon a tree, raging at his own image in the enameled sea. Here we will moor our lonely ship and wander ever with woven hands, murmuring softly lip to lip, along the grass, along the sands, murmuring how far away are the unquiet lands, how we alone of mortals are hid under quiet boughs apart, while our love grows an Indian star, a meteor of the burning heart, one with the tide that gleams, the wings that gleam and dart, the heavy boughs, the burnished dove that moans and sighs 100 days. How when we die our shades will rove, when eve has hushed the feathered ways, with vapory footsole among the water's drowsy blaze. The falling of the leaves. Autumn is over the long leaves that love us, and over the mice in the barley sheaves. Yellow the leaves of the rowan above us, and yellow the wet wild strawberry leaves. The hour of the waning of love has beset us, and weary and worn are our sad souls now. Let us part, ere the season of passion forget us, with a kiss and a tear on thy drooping brow. Ephemera. Your eyes that once were never weary of mine, are bowed in sorrow under pendulous lids, because our love is waning. And then she. Although our love is waning, let us stand by the lone border of the lake once more, together in that hour of gentleness, when the poor tired child, passion, falls asleep. How far away the stars seem, and how far is our first kiss, and ah, how old my heart! Pensive they paced along the faded leaves, while slowly he whose hand held hers replied, Passion has often worn our wandering hearts. The woods were round them, and the yellow leaves fell like faint meteors in the gloom, and once a rabbit old and lame limped down the path. Autumn was over him, and now they stood on the lone border of the lake once more. Turning, he saw that she had thrust dead leaves gathered in silence, dewy as her eyes, in bosom and hair. Ah, do not mourn, he said, that we are tired, for other loves await us. Hate on and love through unrepining hours. Before us lies eternity, our souls, our love, and a continual farewell. And then she. Ah, do not mourn, he said. The madness of King Gal. I sat on cushioned otter skin, my word was law from Ith to Amen, and shook at Invara Marge in the hearts of the world-troubling seamen, and drove tumult and war away from girl and boy and man and beast. The fields grew fatter day by day, the wild fowl of the air increased, and every ancient olive said, while he bent down his fading head, He drives away the northern cold. They will not hush, the leaves flood around me, the beech leaves old. I sat and mused and drank sweet wine. A herdsman came from inland valleys, crying, The pirates drove his swine to fill their dark-beaked hollow galleys. I called my battle-breaking men, and my loud brazen battle-cars from rolling vale and rivery glen, and under the blinking of the stars fell on the pirates by the deep, and hurled them in the gulf of sleep. These hands won many a torque of gold. They will not hush, the leaves flood around me, the beech leaves old. But slowly, as I shouting slew and trampled in the bubbling mire, in my most secret spirit grew a whirling and a wandering fire. I stood, keen stars above me shone, around me shone keen eyes of men. I laughed aloud and hurried on by rocky shore and rushy fen. I laughed because birds fluttered by, and starlight gleamed, and clouds flew high, and rushes waved and waters rolled. They will not hush, the leaves flood around me, the beech leaves old. And now I wander in the woods when summer gluts the golden bees, or in autumnal solitudes arise the leopard-colored trees, or when along the wintry strands the cormorants shiver on their rocks. I wander on, and wave my hands, and sing, and shake my heavy locks. The grey wolf knows me. By one ear I lead along the woodland deer. The hares run by me growing bold. They will not hush, the leaves flood around me, the beech leaves old. I came upon a little town that slumbered in the harvest moon, and passed a tiptoe up and down, murmuring, to a fitful tune, how I have followed, night and day, a tramping of tremendous feet, and saw where this old tympan lay, deserted on a doorway seat, and bore it to the woods with me, of some unhuman misery our married voice wildly trolled. They will not hush, the leaves a flood around me, the beech leaves old. I sang how, when day's toil is done, Orchil shakes out her long dark hair that hides away the dying sun and sheds faint odors through the air. When my hand passed from wire to wire it quenched, with sound like falling dew, the whirling and the wandering fire. But lift a mournful alalu, for the kind wires are torn and still, and I must wander wood and hill through summer's heat and winter's cold. They will not hush, the leaves a flood around me, the beech leaves old. The Stolen Child. Where dips the rocky highland of Sleuthwood in the lake, there lies a leafy island where flapping herons wake the drowsy water rats. There we've hid our fairy vats, full of berries, and of reddest stolen cherries. Come away, O human child, to the waters and the wild with a fairy, hand in hand, for the world's more full of weeping than you can understand. Where the wave of moonlight glosses the dim grey sands with light, far off by furthest Rosses we footed all the night, weaving olden dances, mingling hands and mingling glances till the moon has taken flight. To and fro we leap and chase the frothy bubbles, while the world is full of troubles and is anxious in its sleep. Come away, O human child, to the waters and the wild with a fairy, hand in hand, for the world's more full of weeping than you can understand. Where the wandering water gushes from the hills above Glencar, in pools among the rushes that scarce could bathe a star, we seek for slumbering trout and whispering in their ears give them unquiet dreams. Leaning softly out from ferns that drop their tears over the young streams, come away, O human child, to the waters and the wild with a fairy, hand in hand, for the world's more full of weeping than you can understand. Away with us he's going, the solemn-eyed. He'll hear no more the lowing of the calves on the warm hillside or the kettle on the hob sing peace into his breast, or see the brown mice bob round and round the oatmeal chest. For he comes, the human child, to the waters and the wild with a fairy, hand in hand, from a world more full of weeping than he can understand. To an isle in the water. Shy one, shy one, shy one of my heart, she moves in the firelight pensively apart. She carries in the dishes, and lays them in a row. To an isle in the water with her would I go. She carries in the candles, and lights the curtained room, shy in the doorway and shy in the gloom, and shy as a rabbit, helpful and shy. To an isle in the water with her would I fly. Down by the Sally Gardens. Down by the Sally Gardens my love and I did meet. She passed the Sally Gardens with little snow-white feet. She bid me take love easy, as the leaves grow on the tree, but I, being young and foolish, with her would not agree. In a field by the river my love and I did stand, and on my leaning shoulder she laid her snow-white hand. She bid me take life easy, as the grass grows on the weirs, but I was young and foolish, and now I'm full of tears. The meditation of the old fisherman. You waves, though you dance by my feet like children at play, though you glow and you glance, though you purr and you dart, in the Junes that were warmer than these are, the waves were more gay, when I was a boy with never a crack in my heart. The herring are not in the tides as they were of old, my sorrow. For many a creek gave the creel in the cart that carried the take to Sligo town to be sold, when I was a boy with never a crack in my heart. And ah, you proud maiden, you are not so fair when his oar is heard on the water, as they were, the proud and apart, who paced in the eve by the nets on the pebbly shore, when I was a boy with never a crack in my heart. The Ballad of Father O'Hart. Good Father John O'Hart in penal days rode out to a shoneen who had free lands and his own snipe and trout. In trust took he John's lands, Sleveens were all his race, and he gave them as dowers to his daughters, and they married beyond their place. But Father John went up, and Father John went down, and he wore small holes in his shoes, and he wore large holes in his gown. All loved him, only the shoneen, whom the devils have by the hair, from the wives, and the cats, and the children, to the birds in the white of the air. The birds, for he opened their cages as he went up and down, and he said with a smile, "Have peace now," and he went his way with a frown. But if when any one died came keeners hoarser than rooks, he bade them give over their keening, for he was a man of books. And these were the works of John, when weeping score by score, people came into Killiney, for he died at 94. There was no human keening, The birds from Knocknarea and the world round Knocknashie came keening in that day. The young birds and old birds came flying, heavy and sad, keening in from Tyrerack, keening from Ballinafad, keening from Inishmurray, nor stayed for bite or sup. This way were all reproved who dig old customs up. The Ballad of Moll McGee. Come round me, little childer, there, don't fling stones at me because I mutter as I go, but pity Moll McGee. My man was a poor fisher with shore lines in the say, my work was salt and herrings the whole of the long day. And sometimes from the salten shed I scarce could drag my feet under the blessed moonlight, along the pebbly street. I'd always been but weakly, and my baby was just born. A neighbor minded her by day, I minded her till morn. I lay upon my baby, ye little childer dear, I looked on my cold baby when the morn grew frosty and clear. A weary woman sleeps so hard. My man grew red and pale, and gave me money, and bade me go to my own place, Kinsale. He drove me out and shut the door, and gave his curse to me. I went away in silence, no neighbor could I see. The windows and the doors were shut, one star shone faint and green, the little straws were tinning round across the bare breen. I went away in silence. Beyond old Martin's bar I saw a kindly neighbor blowin' her mornin' fire. She drew from me my story, my money's all used up, and still, with pitying, scorn and eye, she gives me bite and sup. She says my man will surely come, and fetch me home again, but always, as I'm movin' round, without doors or within, pillin' the wood or pillin' the turf, or goin' to the well, I'm thinkin' of my baby and keening to missile. And sometimes I am sure she knows when, opening wide his door, God lights the stars, his candles, and looks upon the poor. So now, ye little childer, you won't fling stones at me, but gather with your shirning looks and pity Moll McGee. The Ballad of the Fox Hunter. Now lay me in a cushioned chair, and carry me, you four, with cushions here and cushions there, to see the world once more. And someone from the stables bring my Dermot dear and brown, and lead him gently in a ring, and gently up and down. Now leave the chair upon the grass, bring hound and huntsman here, and I on this strange road will pass, filled full of ancient cheer. His eyelids droop, his head falls low, his old eyes cloud with dreams, the sun upon all things that grow pours round in sleepy streams. Brown Dermot treads upon the lawn, and to the armchair goes, and now the old man's dreams are gone, he smooths the long brown nose. And now moves many a pleasant tongue upon his wasted hands, for leading aged hounds and young the huntsman near him stands. My huntsman, Rody, blow the horn, and make the hills reply. The huntsman loosens on the morn a gay and wandering cry. A fire is in the old man's eyes, his fingers move and sway, and when the wandering music dies they hear him feebly say, My huntsman, Rody, blow the horn, and make the hills reply. I cannot blow upon my horn, I can but weep and sigh. The servants round his cushioned place are with new sorrow wrung, and hounds are gazing on his face, both aged hounds and young. One blind hound only lies apart on the sun-smitten grass. He holds deep commune with his heart. The moments pass and pass. The blind hound with a mournful din lifts slow his wintry head. The servants bear the body in. The hounds wail for the dead. The Wanderings of Usheen. Tolka. Tolka. 2. Book 1. S. Patrick. You who are bent, and bald, and blind, with a heavy heart and a wandering mind, have known 3 centuries, poets sing, of dalliance with the demon thing. Usheen. Sad to remember, sick with years, the swift innumerable spears, the horsemen with their floating hair, and bowls of barley, honey, and wine, and feet of maidens dancing in tune, and the white body that lay by mine. But the tale, though words be lighter than air, must live to be old like the wandering moon. Caolt, and Conan, and Finn were there, when we followed a deer with our baying hounds, with Bran, Steelin, and Lomere, and passing the Furbolg's burial mounds came to the cairn-heaped grassy hill where passionate Maeve is stony still, and found on the dove-grey edge of the sea a pearl-pale, high-born lady, who rode on a horse with bridle of Findriny, and like a sunset were her lips, a stormy sunset on doomed ships. A citron colour gloomed in her hair, but down to her feet white vesture flowed, and with the glimmering crimson glowed of many a figured embroidery, and it was bound with a pearl-pale shell that wavered like the summer streams, as her soft bosom rose and fell. S. Patrick. You are still wrecked among heathen dreams. Usheen. Why do you wind no horn? She said. And every hero droop his head? The hornless deer is not more sad. That many a peaceful moment had, more sleek than any granary mouse, in his own leafy forest house, among the waving fields of fern. The hunting of heroes should be glad. O pleasant woman, answered Finn, we think on Oscar's penciled urn, and on the heroes lying slain, on Gavra's raven-covered plain. But where are your noble kith and kin? And from what country do you ride? My father and my mother are Angus and Nadine, my own name, Niam, and my country far, beyond the tumbling of this tide. What dream came with you that you came through bitter tide on foam-wet feet? Did your companion wander away from where the birds of Angus wing? She said, with laughter tender and sweet, I have not yet, war-weary king, been spoken of with any one. Yet now I choose for these 4 feet. Ran through the foam and ran to this, that I might have your son to kiss. Were there no better than my son, that you through all that foam should run? I loved no man, though kings besought love, till the Danaan poets brought rhyme, that rhymed to Usheen's name, and now I am dizzy with the thought of all that wisdom and the fame, of battles broken by his hands, of stories builded by his words, that are like colored Asian birds at evening in their rainless lands. O Patrick, by your brazen bell, there was no limb of mine but fell into a desperate gulf of love. You only will I wed, I cried, and I will make 1,000 songs, and set your name all names above, and captives bound with leathern thongs shall kneel and praise you, one by one, at evening in my western dun. O Usheen, mount by me and ride to shores by the wash of the tremulous tide, where men have heaped no burial mounds, and the days pass by like a wayward tune, where broken faith has never been known, and the blushes of first love never have flown. And there I will give you 100 hounds, no mightier creatures bay at the moon, and 100 robes of murmuring silk, and 100 calves and 100 sheep, whose long wool whiter than sea froth flows, and 100 spears and 100 bows, and oil and wine and honey and milk, and always never anxious sleep, while 100 youths mighty of limb, but knowing nor tumult nor hate nor strife, and 100 maidens merry as birds, who when they dance to a fitful measure, have a speed like the speed of the salmon herds, shall follow your horn and obey your whim. And you shall know the Danaan leisure, and Niam be with you for a wife. Then she sighed gently. It grows late. Music and love and sleep await. Where I would be when the white moon climbs, the red sun falls, and the world grows dim. And then I mounted, and she bound me with her triumphing arms around me, and whispering to herself enwound me. But when the horse had felt my weight, he shook himself and neighed 3 times. Caolt, Conan, and Finn came near, and wept, and raised their lamenting hands, and bid me stay, with many a tear, but we rode out from the human lands. In what far kingdom do you go, ah, Fenians, with the shield and bow? Or are you phantoms white as snow, whose lips had life's most prosperous glow? O you, with whom in sloping valleys, or down the dewy forest alleys, I chased at morn the flying deer, with whom I hurled the hurrying spear, and heard the foeman's bucklers rattle, and broke the heaving ranks of battle. And Bran, Steelin, and Lomer, where are you with your long rough hair? You go not where the red deer feeds, nor tear the foemen from their steeds. S. Patrick. Boast not, nor mourn with drooping head companions long accursed and dead, and hounds for centuries dust and air. Usheen. We galloped over the glossy sea, I know not if days passed or hours, and Niam sang continually Danaan songs, and their dewy showers of pensive laughter, unhuman sound, lulled weariness, and softly round my human sorrow her white arms wound. We galloped, now a hornless deer passed by us, chased by a phantom hound all pearly white save one red ear, and now a maiden rode like the wind with an apple of gold in her tossing hand, and a beautiful young man followed behind with quenchless gaze and fluttering hair. Were these 2 born in the Danaan land? Or have they breathed the mortal air? Vex them no longer, Niamh said, and sighing bowed her gentle head, and sighing laid the pearly tip of one long finger on my lip. But now the moon like a white rose shone in the pale west, and the sun's rim sank, and clouds arrayed their rank on rank about his fading crimson ball. The floor of Amon's hosting hall was not more level than the sea, as full of loving fantasy, and with low murmurs we rode on, where many a trumpet twisted shell that in immortal silence sleeps dreaming of her own melting hues, her golds, her ambers, and her blues, pierced with soft light the shallowing deeps. But now a wandering land breeze came and a far sound of feathery choirs. It seemed to blow from the dying flame, they seemed to sing in the smouldering fires. The horse towards the music raced, neighing along the lifeless waste. Like sooty fingers, many a tree rose ever out of the warm sea, and they were trembling ceaselessly, as though they all were beating time, upon the center of the sun, to that low laughing woodland rhyme. And now our wandering hours were done, we cantered to the shore, and knew the reason of the trembling trees. Round every branch the songbirds flew, or clung thereon like swarming bees, while round the shore a million stood like drops of frozen rainbow light, and pondered in a soft vain mood upon their shadows in the tide, and told the purple deeps their pride, and murmured snatches of delight. And on the shores were many boats with bending sterns and bending bows, and carven figures on their prows of bitterns, and fish-eating stoats, and swans with their exultant throats. And where the wood and waters meet we tied the horse in a leafy clump, and Niamh blew 3 merry notes out of a little silver trump, and then in answering whispering flew over the bare and woody land, a whisper of impetuous feet, and ever nearer, nearer grew, and from the woods rushed out a band of men and maidens, hand in hand, and singing, singing all together. Their brows were white as fragrant milk, their cloaks made out of yellow silk, and trimmed with many a crimson feather. And when they saw the cloak I wore was dim with mire of a mortal shore, they fingered it, and gazed on me and laughed like murmurs of the sea. But Niamh with a swift distress bid them away and hold their peace. And when they heard her voice they ran and knelt them, every maid and man, and kissed, as they would never cease, her pearl-pale hand and the hem of her dress. She bade them bring us to the hall where Angus dreams, from sun to sun, a druid dream of the end of days when the stars are to wane and the world be done. They led us by long and shadowy ways where drops of dew in myriads fall, and tangled creepers every hour blossom in some new crimson flower, and once a sudden laughter sprang from all their lips, and once they sang together, while the dark woods rang, and made in all their distant parts, with boom of bees and honey marts, a rumor of delighted hearts. And once a maiden by my side gave me a harp, and bid me sing, and touched a laughing silver string. But when I sang of human joy a sorrow wrapped each merry face, and Patrick, by your beard they wept, until one came, a tearful boy. A sadder creature never stepped than this strange human bard. He cried, and caught the silver harp away, and weeping over the white strings, hurled it down in a leaf-hid, hollow place that kept dim waters from the sky, and each one said, with a long, long sigh, "O saddest harp in all the world! Sleep there till the moon and the stars die." And now still sad we came to where a beautiful young man dreamed within a house of wattles, clay, and skin. One hand upheld his beardless chin, and one a scepter flashing out wild flames of red and gold and blue, like to a merry wandering rout of dancers leaping in the air. And men and maidens knelt them there, and showed their eyes with teardrops dim, and with low murmurs prayed to him, and kissed the scepter with red lips, and touched it with their fingertips. He held that flashing scepter up. Joy drowns the twilight in the dew, and fills with stars night's purple cup, and wakes the sluggard seeds of corn, and stirs the young kid's budding horn, and makes the infant ferns unwrap, and for the pewit paints his cap, and rolls along the unwieldy sun, and makes the little planets run. And if joy were not on the earth, there were an end of change and birth, and earth and heaven and hell would die, and in some gloomy barrow lie, folded like a frozen fly, then mock at death and time with glances, and wavering arms and wandering dances. Men's hearts of old were drops of flame, that from the saffron morning came, or drops of silver joy that fell out of the moon's pale twisted shell. But now hearts cry that hearts are slaves, and toss and turn in narrow caves. But here there is nor law nor rule, nor have hands held a weary tool, and here there is nor change nor death, but only kind and merry breath. For joy is God and God is joy. With one long glance on maid and boy and the pale blossom of the moon, he fell into a druid's swoon. And in a wild and sudden dance we mocked at time and fate and chance, and swept out of the wattled hall and came to where the dewdrops fall among the foam drops of the sea, and there we hushed the revelry, and gathering on our brows a frown, bent all our swaying bodies down, and to the waves that glimmer by that sloping green did anon sod sang, God is joy and joy is God. And things that have grown sad are wicked, and things that fear the dawn of the morrow, or the grey wandering osprey sorrow. We danced to where in the winding thicket the damask roses, bloom on bloom, like crimson meteors hang in the gloom, and bending over them softly said, bending over them in the dance, with a swift and friendly glance from dewy eyes, upon the dead fall the leaves of other roses. On the dead dim earth encloses, but never, never on our graves, heaped beside the glimmering waves, shall fall the leaves of damask roses. For neither death nor change comes near us, and all listless hours fear us, and we fear no dawning morrow, nor the grey wandering osprey sorrow. The dance wound through the windless woods, the ever-summered solitudes, until the tossing arms grew still upon the woody central hill, and gathered in a panting band, we flung on high each waving hand, and sang unto the starry broods. In our raised eyes there flashed a glow of milky brightness to and fro as thus our song arose. You stars, across your wandering ruby cars, shake the loose reins, you slaves of God. He rules you with an iron rod. He holds you with an iron bond. Each one woven to the other, each one woven to his brother, like bubbles in a frozen pond. But we in a lonely land abide, unchainable as the dim tide, with hearts that know nor law nor rule, and hands that hold no wearisome tool, folded in love that fears no morrow, nor the grey wandering osprey sorrow. O Patrick! For 100 years I chased upon that woody shore the deer, the badger, and the boar. O Patrick! For 100 years at evening on the glimmering sands, beside the piled-up hunting spears, these now outworn and withered hands wrestled among the island bands. O Patrick! For 100 years we went a-fishing in long boats with bending sterns and bending bows, and carven figures on their prows of bitterns and fish-eating stoats. O Patrick! For 100 years the gentle Niamh was my wife, but now two things devour my life, the things that most of all I hate, fasting and prayers. S. Patrick. Tell on. Tell on. Usheen. Yes, yes, for these were ancient Usheen's fate, loose long ago from heaven's gate, for his last days to lie in wait. When one day by the tide I stood, I found in that forgetfulness of dreamy foam a staff of wood from some dead warrior's broken lance. I turned it in my hands, the stains of war were on it, and I wept, remembering how the Fenians stepped along the blood-bedabbled plains, equal to good or grievous chance. Thereon young Niamh softly came and caught my hands, but spake no word save only many times my name, in murmurs, like a frightened bird. We passed by woods, and lawns of clover, and found the horse and bridled him, for we knew well the old was over. I heard one say, his eyes grow dim with all the ancient sorrow of men, and wrapped in dreams rode out again with hoofs of the pale Findriny over the glimmering purple sea, under the golden evening light. The immortals moved among the fountains by rivers and the woods old night, some danced like shadows on the mountains, some wandered ever hand in hand, or sat in dreams on the pale strand, each forehead like an obscure star bent down above each hooked knee, and sang, and with a dreamy gaze watched where the sun in a saffron blaze was slumbering half in the sea ways. And, as they sang, the painted birds kept time with their bright wings and feet. Like drops of honey came their words, but fainter than a young lamb's bleat. An old man stirs the fire to a blaze. In the house of a child, of a friend, of a brother, he has overlingered his welcome. The days, grown desolate, whisper and sigh to each other. He hears the storm in the chimney above, and bends to the fire and shakes with the cold, while his heart still dreams of battle and love, and the cry of the hounds on the hills of old. But we are apart in the grassy places, where care cannot trouble the least of our days, or the softness of youth be gone from our faces. or love's first tenderness die in our gaze. The hair grows old as she plays in the sun, and gazes around her with eyes of brightness. Before the swift things that she dreamed of were done, she limps along in an aged whiteness. A storm of birds in the Asian trees, like tulips in the air winging, and the gentle waves of the summer seas, that raise their heads and wander singing, must murmur at last, unjust, unjust. And my speed is a weariness, falters the mouse, and the kingfisher turns to a ball of dust, and the roof falls in of his tunneled house. But the love-dew dims our eyes till the day, when God shall come from the sea with a sigh, and bid the stars drop down from the sky, and the moon like a pale rose wither away. Yes, yes. Book 2. Now, man of croziers, shadows called our names, and then away, away, like whirling flames, and now fled by, mist-covered, without sound, the youth and lady and the deer and hound. Gaze no more on the phantoms, Niamh said, and kissed my eyes, and swaying her bright head and her bright body, sang of fairy and man before God was or my old line began. Wars shadowy, vast, exultant, fairies of old who wedded men with rings of druid gold, and how those lovers never turn their eyes upon the life that fades and flickers and dies, but love and kiss on dim shores far away rolled round with music of the sighing spray, but sang no more, as when, like a brown bee that has drunk full, she crossed the misty sea with me in her white arms 100 years before this day, for now the fall of tears troubled her song. I do not know if days or hours pass by, yet hold the morning rays shone many times among the glimmering flowers woven into her hair, before dark towers rose in the darkness, and the white surf gleamed about them, and the horse of Faery screamed and shivered, knowing the isle of many fears, nor ceased until white Niamh stroked his ears and named him by sweet names. A foaming tide whitened afar with surge, fan-formed and wide, burst from a great door marred by many a blow from mace and sword and poleaxe, long ago, when gods and giants warred. We rode between the seaweed-covered pillars, and the green and surging phosphorus alone gave light on our dark pathway, till a countless flight of moonlit steps glimmered, and left and right dark statues glimmered over the pale tide upon dark thrones. Between the lids of one the imaged meteors had flashed and run and had disported in the stilly jet, and the fixed stars had dawned and shone and set, since God made time and death and sleep. The other stretched his long arm to where, a misty smother, the stream churned, churned, and churned, his lips apart, as though he told his never-slumbering heart of every foam drop on its misty way. Tying the horse to his vast foot that lay half in the unvesseled sea, we climbed the stairs and climbed so long, I thought the last steps were hung from the morning star, when these mild words fanned the delighted air like wings of birds. My brothers spring out of their beds at morn, a murmur like young partridge, with loud horn. They chase the noontide deer, and when the dew-drowned stars hang in the air, look to long fishing lines, or point and pair an ashwood hunting spear. O sigh, O fluttering sigh, be kind to me. Flutter along the froth lips of the sea, and shores the froth lips wet, and stay a little while, and bid them weep. Ah, touch their blue-veined eyelids if they sleep, and shake their coverlet, when you have told how I weep endlessly. Flutter along the froth lips of the sea, and home to me again, and in the shadow of my hair lie hid, and tell me how you came to one unbid, the saddest of all men, a maiden with soft eyes like funeral tapers, and face that seemed wrought out of moonlit vapors, and a sad mouth, that fear made tremulous as any ruddy moth, looked down on us, and she with a wave-rusted chain was tied to 2 old eagles, full of ancient pride, that with dim eyeballs stood on either side. Few feathers were on their disheveled wings, for their dim minds were with the ancient things. I bring deliverance, pale Niamh said. Neither the living, nor the unlaboring dead, nor the high gods who never lived may fight. My enemy and hope, demons for fright, jabber and scream about him in the night. For he is strong and crafty as the seas that sprang under the 7 hazel trees. And I must needs endure and hate and weep, until the gods and demons drop asleep, hearing Ed touch the mournful strings of gold. Is he so dreadful? Be not overbold, but flee while you may flee from him. Then this demon shall be pierced and drop and die, and his loose bulk be thrown in the loud tide. Flee from him, pearl-pale Niam weeping cried. For all men flee the demons. But moved not my angry king, remembering soul one jot. There was no mightier soul of Heber's line. Now it is old and mouse-like. For a sign I burst the chain. Still earless, nerveless, blind, wrapped in the things of the unhuman mind. In some dim memory or ancient mood, still earless, nerveless, blind, the eagle stood. And then we climbed the stair to a high door. 100 horsemen on the basalt floor beneath had paced content. We held our way and stood within. Clothed in a misty ray, I saw a foam-white seagull drift and float under the roof, and with a straining throat shouted, and hailed him. He hung there a star, for no man's cry shall ever mount so far. Not even your God could have thrown down that hall, stabling his unloosed lightnings in their stall. He had sat down and sighed with cumbered heart, as though his hour were come. We sought the part that was most distant from the door. Green slime made the way slippery, and time on time showed prints of sea-born scales, while down through it the captive's journeys to and fro were writ like a small river, and where feet touched, came a momentary gleam of phosphorus flame. Under the deepest shadows of the hall that maiden found a ring hung on the wall, and in the ring a torch, and with its flare making a world about her in the air, passed under a dim doorway, out of sight and came again, holding a second light burning between her fingers, and in mine laid it, and sighed. I held a sword whose shine no centuries could dim, and a word ran thereon in Ogham letters, Mannanan, that sea god's name, who in a deep content sprang dripping, and with captive demons sent out of the sevenfold seas, built the dark hall rooted in foam and clouds, and cried to all the mightier masters of a mightier race. And at his cry there came no milk-pale face under a crown of thorns and dark with blood, but only exultant faces. Niam stood with bowed head, trembling when the white blade shone, but she whose hours of tenderness were gone had neither hope nor fear. I bade them hide under the shadows till the tumults died of the loud crashing and earth-shaking fight, lest they should look upon some dreadful sight, and thrust the torch between the slimy flags. A dome made out of endless carven jags, where shadowy face flowed into shadowy face, looked down on me, and in the selfsame place I waited hour by hour, and the high dome, windowless, pillarless, multitudinous home of faces, waited, and the leisured gaze was loaded with the memory of days buried and mighty. When through the great door the dawn came in, and glimmered on the floor with a pale light, I journeyed round the hall and found a door deep sunken in the wall, the least of doors. Beyond on a dim plain a little runnel made a bubbling strain, and on the runnel's stony and bare edge a husky demon dry as a withered sedge swayed, crooning to himself an unknown tongue. In a sad reverie he sang and swung bacchant and mournful, passing to and fro his hand along the runnel's side, as though the flowers still grew there, far on the sea's waste shaking and waving, vapor chased, while high frail cloudlets, fed with a green light, like drifts of leaves, immovable and bright, hung in the passionate dawn. He slowly turned, a demon's leisure, eyes, first white, now burned like wings of kingfishers, and he arose barking. We trampled up and down with blows of sword and brazen battle-axe, while day gave to high noon and noon to night gave way, and when at withering of the sun he knew the druid sword of Mannanan, he grew to many shapes. I lunged at the smooth throat of a great eel, it changed, and I but smote a fir-tree roaring in its leafless top. I held a dripping corpse, with livid chop and sunken shape, against my face and breast, when I tore down the tree. But when the west surged up in plumy fire, I lunged, and drave through heart and spine, and cast him in the wave, lest Niam shudder. Full of hope and dread those two came carrying wine and meat and bread, and healed my wounds with unguents out of flowers that feed white moths by some Dinan shrine. Then in that hall, lit by the dim sea shine, we lay on skins of otters, and drank wine, brewed by the sea gods, from huge cups that lay upon the lips of sea gods in their day, and then on heaped-up skins of otters slept. But when the sun once more in saffron stepped, rolling his flagrant will out of the deep, we sang the loves and angers without sleep, and all the exultant labors of the strong. But now the lying cleric's murder song with barren words and flatteries of the weak. In what land do the powerless turn the beak of ravening sorrow, or the hand of wrath? For all your croziers, They have left the path and wander in the storms and clinging snows, hopeless forever, ancient Usheen knows, for he is weak and poor and blind, and lies on the anvil of the world. I do not know if days, a foaming tide, be not overbold. Then we sought the part. Niam stood, full of hope and dread. S. Patrick. Be still, the skies are choked with thunder, lightning, and fierce wind, for God has heard, and speaks his angry mind. Go cast your body on the stones and pray, for he has wrought midnight and dawn and day. Be still, the skies. Usheen. Saint, do you weep? I hear amid the thunder the Fenian horses, armor torn asunder, laughter and cries, the armies clash and shock. All is done now, I see the ravens flock. Ah, cease, you mournful, laughing Fenian horn. We feasted for 3 days. On the 4th morn I found, dropping sea foam on the wide stair, and hung with slime, and whispering in his hair, that demon dull and unsubduable. And once more to a day-long battle fell, and at the sundown threw him in the surge, to lie until the 4th morn saw emerge his new-healed shape, and for 100 years so warred, so feasted, with nor dreams nor fears, nor languor nor fatigue, an endless feast, an endless war. The 100 years had ceased. I stood upon the stair. The surges bore a beach bow to me, and my heart grew sore, remembering how I had stood by white-haired Finn under a beech at Amen and heard the thin outcry of bats. And then young Niam came holding that horse, and sadly called my name. I mounted, and we passed over the lone and drifting greyness, while this monotone, surly and distant, mixed inseparably into the clangor of the wind and sea. I hear my soul drop down into decay, and Manannan's dark tower, stone by stone, gather sea slime and fall the seaward way, and the moon goad the waters night and day, that all be overthrown. But till the moon has taken all, I wage war on the mightiest men under the skies, and they have fallen or fled, age after age. Light is man's love, and lighter is man's rage. His purpose drifts and dies. And then lost Niam murmured, Love, we go to the island of forgetfulness, for lo, the islands of dancing and of victories are empty of all power. And which of these is the island of content? None know, she said, and on my bosom laid her weeping head. The 100 years had ceased. And then young Niam came. And which of these? None know, she said. Book 3. Fled foam underneath us, and around us, a wandering and milky smoke, high as the saddle girth, covering away from our glances the tide, and those that fled, and that followed, from the foam-pale distance broke. The immortal desire of immortals we saw in their faces, and sighed. I mused on the chase with the Fenians, and Bran, Stielan, Lomer, and never a song sang Niam, and over my fingertips came now the sliding of tears and sweeping of mist-cold hair, and now the warmth of sighs, and after the quiver of lips. Were we days long or hours long in riding, when rolled in a grisly peace, a now lay level before us, with dripping hazel and oak. And we stood on a sea's edge we saw not, for whiter than new-washed fleece fled foam underneath us, and round us, a wandering and milky smoke. And we rode on the plains of the sea's edge barren and grey sand on the green of the grasses and over the dripping trees, dripping and doubling landward, as though they would hasten away like an army of old men longing for rest from the moan of the seas. But the trees grew taller and closer, immense in their wrinkling bark, dropping, a murmurous dropping, old silence, and that one sound, for no live creatures lived there, no weasels moved in the dark, long sighs arose in our spirits, beneath us bubbled the ground. And the ears of the horse went sinking away in the hollow night, for, as drift from a sailor slow drowning the gleams of the world in the sun, ceased on our hands and our faces, on hazel and oak leaf, the light, and the stars were blotted above us, and the whole of the world was one. Till the horse gave a whinny, for, cumbrous with stems of the hazel and oak, a valley flowed down from his hoofs, and there in the long grass lay, under the starlight and shadow, a monstrous slumbering folk, their naked and gleaming bodies poured out and heaped in the way. And by them were arrow and war-axe, arrow and shield and blade, and dew-blanched horns, in whose hollow a child of 3 years old could sleep on a couch of rushes, and all inwrought and inlaid, and more comely than man can make them with bronze and silver and gold. And each of the huge white creatures was huger than 80 men. The tops of their ears were feathered, their hands were the claws of birds, and shaking the plumes of the grasses and the leaves of the mural glen, the breathing came from those bodies, long warless, grown whiter than curds. The wood was so spacious above them, that he who had stars for his flocks could fondle the leaves with his fingers, nor go from his dew-cumbered skies. So long were they sleeping, the owls had builded their nests in their locks, filling the fibrous dimness with long generations of eyes. And over the limbs and the valley the slow owls wandered and came, now in a place of starfire, and now in a shadow place wide, and the chief of the huge white creatures, his knees in the soft star flame, lay loose in a place of shadow. We drew the reins by his side. Golden the nails of his bird claws, flung loosely along the dim ground. In one was a branch soft shining, with bells more many than sighs. In midst of an old man's bosom, owls ruffling and pacing around, sidled their bodies against him, filling the shade with their eyes. And my gaze was thronged with the sleepers, no, not since the world began, in realms where the handsome were many, nor in glamours by demons flung, have faces alive with such beauty been known to the salt eye of man, yet weary with passions that faded when the sevenfold seas were young. And I gazed on the bell branch, sleep's forbear, far sung by the Senecas. I saw how those slumberers, grown weary, their camping in grasses deep, of wars with the wide world and pacing the shores of the wandering seas, laid hands on the bell branch and swayed it, and fed of unhuman sleep. Snatching the horn of Niam, I blew a lingering note. Came sound from those monstrous sleepers, a sound like the stirring of flies. He, shaking the fold of his lips, and heaving the pillar of his throat, watched me with mournful wonder out of the wells of his eyes. I cried, "Come out of the shadow, king of the nails of gold, and tell of your goodly household and the goodly works of your hands, that we may muse in the starlight and talk of the battles of old. Your questioner, Ashin, is worthy, he comes from the Fenian lands." Half open his eyes were, and held me, dull with the smoke of their dreams. His lips moved slowly in answer, no answer out of them came. Then he swayed in his fingers the bell branch, slow dropping a sound in faint streams softer. Then snowflakes in April and piercing the marrow like flame. Wrapped in the wave of that music, with weariness more than of earth, the moil of my centuries filled me, and gone like a sea-covered stone were the memories of the whole of my sorrow and the memories of the whole of my mirth. And a softness came from the starlight and filled me full to the bone. In the roots of the grasses, the sorrels, I laid my body as low, and the pearl-pale Niam lay by me, her brow on the midst of my breast, and the horse was gone in the distance, and years after years gone flow, square leaves of the ivy moved over us, binding us down to our rest. And man of the many white croziers, a century there I forgot, how the fetlocks drip blood in the battle, when the fallen on fallen lie rolled, how the falconer follows the falcon in the weeds of the heron's plot, and the names of the demons whose hammers made armor for Conher of old. And man of the many white croziers, a century there I forgot, that the spear shaft is made out of ashwood, the shield out of osier and hide, how the hammers spring on the anvil, on the spearhead's burning spot, how the slow, blue-eyed oxen of Finn low sadly at evening tide. But in dreams, mild man of the croziers, driving the dust with their throngs, moved round me, of seamen or landsmen, all who are winter tales, came by me the kings of the Red Branch, with roaring of laughter and songs, or moved as they moved once, love-making or piercing the tempest with sails. Came Blanid Mac Nessa, tall Fergus who feastward of old time slunk, Cook Barak, the traitor, and Warward, the spittle on his beard never dry, dark Baylor, as old as a forest, Carborn, his mighty head sunk helpless, men lifting the lids of his weary and death-making eye. And by me, in soft red raiment, the Fenians moved in loud streams, and Grania, walking and smiling, sewed with her needle of bone, so lived I and lived not, so wrought I and wrought not, with creatures of dreams, in a long iron sleep, as a fish in the water goes dumb as a stone. At times our slumber was lightened, when the sun was on silver or gold, when brushed with the wings of the owls, in the dimness they love going by, when a glowworm was green on a grass leaf, lured from his lair in the mold, half wakening, we lifted our eyelids, and gazed on the grass with a sigh. So watched I when, man of the croziers, at the heel of a century fell, weak, in the midst of the meadow, from his miles in the midst of the air, a starling like them that forgathered neath a moon waking white as a shell. When the Fenians made foray at morning with Bran, Steelin, Lomer, I awoke. The strange horse without summons out of the distance ran, thrusting his nose to my shoulder. He knew in his bosom deep that once more moved in my bosom the ancient sadness of man, and that I would leave the immortals, their dimness, their dews dropping sleep. Oh, had you seen beautiful Niamh grow white as the waters are white, Lord of the Croziers, you even had lifted your hands and wept. But, the bird in my fingers, I mounted, remembering alone that delight of twilight and slumber were gone, and that hoofs impatiently stepped. I cried, "O Niamh! O white one! If only a 12-hour day! I must gaze on the beard of Finn, and move where the old men and young, in the Fenians' dwellings of wattle lean on the chessboards and play. Ah, sweet to me now were even bald Conan's slanderous tongue. Like me were some galley forsaken far off in Meridian Isle, remembering its long-oared companions, sails turning to threadbare rags. No more to crawl on the seas with long oars mile after mile, but to be amid shooting of flies and flowering of rushes and flags. Their motionless eyeballs of spirits grown mild with mysterious thought watched her those seamless faces from the valley's glimmering girth, as she murmured, O wandering Ashin, the strength of the bell branch is naught. For there moves alive in your fingers the fluttering sadness of earth. Then go through the lands in the saddle and see what the mortals do. And softly come to your Niamh over the tops of the tide. But weep for your Niamh, O Ashin, weep, for if only your shoe brush lightly as Haymouse earth's pebbles, you will come no more to my side. O flaming lion of the world, O when will you turn to your rest? I saw from a distant saddle, from the earth she made her moan. I would die like a small withered leaf in the autumn, for breast unto breast. We shall mingle no more, nor our gazes empty their sweetness lone. In the isles of the farthest seas where only the spirits come, were the winds less soft than the breath of a pigeon who sleeps on her nest. Nor lost in the starfires and odors the sound of the sea's vague drum? O flaming lion of the world, O when will you turn to your rest? The wailing grew distant. I rode by the woods of the wrinkling bark, wherever his murmur is dropping, old silence, and at one sound, for no live creatures live there, no weasels move in the dark, in a reverie forgetful of all things, over the bubbling ground. And I rode by the plains of the sea's edge, where all is barren and grey sands on the green of the grasses and over the dripping trees, dripping and doubling landward, as though they would hasten away, like an army of old men lounging for rest from the moan of the seas. And the winds made the sands on the sea's edge turning and turning go, as my mind made the names of the Fenians. Far from the hazel and oak, I rode away on the surges, where, high as the saddle bow, fled foam underneath me, and round me, a wandering and milky smoke. Long fled the foam flakes around me, the winds fled out of the vast, snatching the bird in secret, nor knew I, embosomed apart, when they froze the cloth on my body like armor riveted fast, for remembrance, lifting her leanness, keened in the gates of my heart. Till fattening the winds of the morning, an odor of new mown hay came, and my forehead fell low, and my tears like berries fell down. Later a sound came, half lost in the sound of a shore far away, from the great grass barnacle calling, and later the shore weeds brown. If I were as I once was, the strong hoofs crushing the sand and the shells, coming out of the sea as the dawn comes, a chaunt of love on my lips, not coughing, my head on my knees, and praying, and wroth with the bells, I would leave no saint's head on his body from Racklin to Barra of ships. Making way from the kindling surges, I rode on a bridle path much wondering to see upon all hands, of wattles and woodwork made, your bell-mounted churches, and guardless the sacred cairn in the rath, and a small and a feeble populace stooping with mattock and spade, or weeding or ploughing with faces shining with much toil wet, while in this place and that place, with bodies unglorious, their chieftains stood, awaiting in patience the straw death. Croziered one, caught in your net, went the laughter of scorn from my mouth like the roaring of wind in a wood. And because I went by them so huge and so speedy with eyes so bright, came after the hard gaze of youth, or an old man lifted his head, and I rode and I rode, and I cried out. The Fenians hunt wolves in the night, so sleep thee by daytime. A voice cried. The Fenians a long time are dead. A white beard stood hushed on the pathway, the flesh of his face as dried grass, and in folds round his eyes and his mouth, he sat as a child without milk, and the dreams of the islands were gone, and I knew how men sorrow and pass, and their hound, and their horse, and their love, and their eyes that glimmer like silk. And wrapping my face in my hair, I murmured, in old age they ceased. And my tears were larger than berries, and I murmured, where white clouds lie spread, on Crevero or broad Knockfeffin, with many of old they feast. On the floors of the gods. He cried, no, the gods a long time are dead. And lonely and longing for Niam, I shivered and turned me about, the heart in me longing to leap like a grasshopper into her heart. I turned and rode to the westward, and followed the sea's old shout till I saw where Maeve lies sleeping till starlight and midnight part. And there at the foot of the mountain, two carried a sack full of sand, they bore it with staggering and sweating, but fell with their burden at length. Leaning down from the gem-studded saddle, I flung it 5 yards with my hand, with a sob for men waxing so weakly, a sob for the Fenians' old strength. The rest you have heard of, old crosiered one, how, when divided the girth, I fell on the path, and the horse went away like a summer fly, and my years 300 fell on me, and I rose, and walked on the earth, a creeping old man, full of sleep, with the spittle on his beard never dry. How the men of the sand sack showed me a church with its belfry in air, sorry place, where for a swing of the war axe in my dim eyes the crozier gleams. What place have Caolt and Conan, and Bran, Skealan, Lomer? Speak, you two are old with your memories, an old man surrounded with dreams. S. Patrick. Where the flesh of the footsole clingeth on the burning stones is their place, where the demons whip them with wires on the burning stones of wide hell, watching the blessed ones move far off, and the smile on God's face, between them a gateway of brass, and the howl of the angels who fell. Usheen. Put the staff in my hands, for I go to the Fenians, O cleric, to chaunt the war songs that roused them of old. They will rise, making clouds with their breath innumerable, singing, exultant. The clay underneath them shall pant, and demons be broken in pieces, and trampled beneath them in death. And demons afraid in their darkness, deep horror of eyes and of wings, afraid their ears on the earth laid, shall listen and rise up and weep, hearing the shaking of shields and the quiver of stretched bowstrings, hearing hell loud with a murmur, as shouting and mockingly sweep. We will tear out the flaming stones, and batter the gateway of brass and enter, and none saith, no, when there enters the strongly armed guest, make clean as a broom cleans, and march on as oxen move over young grass. Then feast, making converse of wars, and of old wounds, and turn to our rest. S. Patrick. On the flaming stones, without refuge, the limbs of the Fenians are tossed. None war on the masters of hell, who could break up the world in their rage. But kneel and wear out the flags and pray for your soul that is lost through the demon love of its youth, and its godless and passionate age. Usheen. Ah me! To be shaken with coughing and broken with old age and pain, without laughter, a show unto children, alone with remembrance and fear, all emptied of purple hours as a beggar's cloak in the rain, as a haycock out on the flood, or a wolf sucked under a weir. It were sad to gaze on the blessed and no man I loved of old there. I throw down the chain of small stones. When life in my body has ceased, I will go to Caolt, and Conan, and Bran, Skealan, Lomer, and dwell in the house of the Fenians, be they in flames or at feast. Glossary and Notes. The pronunciation of the Irish words. When I wrote the greater number of these poems, I had hardly considered the question seriously. I copied at times somebody's perhaps fanciful phonetic spelling, and at times the ancient spelling as I found it in some literal translation, pronouncing the words always as they were spelt. I do not suppose I would have defended this system at any time, but I do not yet know what system to adopt. The modern pronunciation, which is usually followed by those who spell the words phonetically, is certainly unlike the pronunciation of the time when classical Irish literature was written, and so far as I know, no Irish scholar who writes in English or French has made that minute examination of the way the names come into the rhythms and measures of the old poems which can alone discover the old pronunciation. A French Celtic scholar gave me the pronunciation of a few names, and told me that Mr. Whitley Stokes had written something about the subject in German, but I am ignorant of German. If I ever learn the old pronunciation, I will revise all these poems, but at present I can only affirm that I have not treated my Irish names as badly as the medieval writers of the stories of King Arthur treated their Welsh names. Mythological gods and heroes. I refer the reader for such names as Balor and Finn and Eisheen to Lady Gregory's Cuchulainn of Muirthemne, and to her Gods and Fighting Men. The Ballad of Father Gilligan. A tradition among the people of Castle Island, Kerry. The Ballad of Father O'Hart. This ballad is founded on the story of a certain Father O'Hart, priest of Colony, Sligo, in the last century, as told by the present priest of Colony in his History of Ballisadaire and Kilvernet. The robbery of the lands of Father O'Hart was a kind of robbery which occurred but rarely during the penal laws. Catholics, forbidden to own landed property, evaded the law by giving a Protestant nominal possession of their estates. There are instances on record in which poor men were nominal owners of immense estates. The Ballad of the Fox Hunter. Founded on an incident, probably itself a Tipperary tradition, in Kickham's Knockago. Bell Branch. A legendary branch whose shaking casts all men into a sleep. The Countess Kathleen. I found the story of the Countess Kathleen in what professed to be a collection of Irish folklore in an Irish newspaper some years ago. I wrote to the compiler, asking about its source, but got no answer, but have since heard that it was translated from Les Matinées de Timothy Trim a good many years ago, and has been drifting about the Irish press ever since. Leo Lesps gives it as an Irish story, and though the editor of Folklore has kindly advertised for information, the only Christian variant I know of is a Donegal tale, given by Mr. Larmony in his West Irish Folk Tales and Romances, of a woman who goes to hell for 10 years to save her husband, and stays there another 10, having been granted permission to carry away as many souls as could cling to her skirt. Leo Lesps may have added a few details, but I have no doubt of the essential antiquity of what seems to me the most impressive form of one of the supreme parables of the world. The parable came to the Greeks in the sacrifice of Alcestis, but her sacrifice was less overwhelming, less apparently irremediable. Leo Lesps tells the story as follows. CKJE vase vous dire est un récit du Karim Irlandais. Le boiteau, à la vugle, le paralytique de Ruse de Dublin au lieu de Limerick, vous le direz mieux que moi, cher lecteur, as I vous alise le leur demander, un sixpence d'argent à la main dot. Il n'est pas une jeune fille catholique à laquelle on any elate apres pendant les jours de préparation à la communion sainte, pas un burger de bords de la Blackwater que any le puisse redire à la veille. Il bien longtemps qu'il apparat tout d'écu dans la vieille Irlande du marchands en canoes dont personne n'avait ouï parler, et que parlaient niemens avec la plus grande perfection la langue du pays. Leurs chevaux étaient noirs et ferrés avec de l'or et leurs robes d'une grande magnificence. Tous deux semblaient avoir le même âge. Ils paraissaient être de hommes de 50 ans, car leur barbe grisonnait un peu. Or à cette époque, comme aujourd'hui, l'Irlande était pauvre, car le soleil avait été rare, et de récoltes presque nulles. Les indigents n'y surveillant à quel saint se voir, et la misère devenait de plus en plus terrible. Dans l'hôtellerie au descendre les marchands fastueux en cherche à pénétrer leurs desseins, mais si fut en vain, ils demeurent silencieux et discrets. Et pendant qu'ils demeurent dans l'hôtellerie, ils n'y cessèrent de compter et de recompter de sacs de pieces d'or, dont la vive clarté s'apercevait à travers les vitres du logis. Gentlemen, leur dit l'hôtesse un jour, dieu vin que vous êtes si opulence, et que, venez pour secourir la misère publique, vous n'y fassiez pas de bonnes œuvres? Belle hôtesse, répondit elle Dieu, nous n'avons pas voulu aller au-devant d'infortunes honorables, dans la crainte d'être trompés par de misères fictives, que la douleur frapper à la porte, nous s'ouvrirons. Le lendemain, quand un sut qu'il existait deux opulents étrangers prêts à prodiguer l'or, la foule assiégea leur logis, mais les figures de gens que en sortaient étaient bien diverses. Les uns avaient la fière dans le regard, les autres portaient la honte au front. Les du trafiquants acquitient de aims pour le demon. Alain dun viellard valet vingt pieces d'or, pas un penny de plus, car Satan evade eu le temps dy former hypothèque. Alain d'une epos en valet cinquante quand elle était jolie, ou cent quand elle était laide. Alain d'une jeune fille si paid de prix faux, les fleurs les plus belles et les plus pures sont les plus chères. Pendant ce temps, Illinois existait dans la ville un ange de beauté, la comtesse Ketty O'Connor. Elle était l'idole du peuple, était la providence de indigence. De tuel yut apres que de mécréance profitant de la mesure publique pour dérober de cours à Dieu, elle fit appel à son majordome. Master Patrick, lui dit-elle, combien ai-je de pieces d'or dans mon coffre? 100,000. Combien de bijoux? Per autant d'argent. Combien de châteaux, de bois et de terraces? Pour le double de ces sommes. Eh bien, Patrick, vendes tout ce que n'est pas or et apportes en le monant. J'ai regarder à moi que si castel et le champ que l'entoure. Du jours après, les ordres de la paius Ketty étaient exécutés et le trésor était distribué aux pauvres au fur et à mesure de leurs besoins. Ceci n'est faisait pas le compte de la tradition, de commis voyageurs du malin esprit, que n'y trouvaient plus d'aimes à acter. Aides par un valet infâme, ils pénétrèrent dans la retraite de la noble dame et lui dérobèrent le reste de son trésor. En vain luttaient de toutes ses forces pour sauver le contenu de son coffre, les larrons diaboliques furent les plus forts. Ainsi Ketty avait eu les moyens de faire un signe de croix, ajoute la légende irlandaise, elle les eut mis en fuite, mais ses mains étaient captives. Le larcin fut effectué. Alors les pauvres sollicitèrent en vain près de Ketty depuis elle n'y pouvait plus secourir leur misère. Elle les abandonnait à la tentation. Pourtant il n'y avait plus que 8 jours à passer pour que les grains et les forages arrivassent en abondance de pays d'Orient. Mais, 8 jours, c'était un siècle, 8 jours nécessitaient un somme immense pour subvenir aux exigences de la désert, et les pauvres alliant ou expirer dans les angoisses de la fame, ou renier les saints maximes de l'Évangile, vendre à vil prix leur âme, le plus beau présent de la munificence du Seigneur Tout-Puissant. Et Ketty en avait plus honorable, car elle avait abandonné son châteaux aux malheureux. Elle passa 2 heures dans les larmes et le deuil, arrachant ses chevaux couleur de soleil et meurtrissant son sein couleur d'ulysse. Puis elle s'y leva résolue, animée par un vif sentiment de désespoir. Elle s'y rendit chez les marchands d'Ames. Que voulez-vous? dirent-ils. Vous acquittez d'Ames? Oui, un peu malgré vous n'est-ce pas, Saint Aux de Saphir? Aujourd'hui je viens vous proposer un marché, reprit-elle. L'équal? J'ai un aime à vendre, mais elle est chère. Tu importes sil precious? Elle aime, comme le diamant, s'apprécie à sa blancheur. C'est la mienne, dit Ketty. Les deux envois de Satan tresselleront. Leurs griffes s'élongeront sous leurs gants de cuir, leurs yeux grillent celleront, elle aime, pure, immaculée, virginale de Ketty. C'était une acquisition inappreciable. Gentle dame, combien voulez-vous? 150,000 écus d'or. C'est fait, dirent les marchands, et ils tenderont à Ketty un parchemin cacheté de noir, tuel signa en frissonnant. La somme lui fut comptée. De tuel fut rentrée, elle dit au majordome. Tenez, distribue ceci. Avec la somme que j'ai vu dans les pauvres attendront la huitaine nécessaire et pas un de leurs aimes n'y sera livré au démon. Puis elle s'enferma et recommanda qu'un n'y vint pas la déranger. 3 jours s'y passeront, elle n'appela pas, elle n'y sortit pas. Quand on ouvrit ses portes, on la trouverait et froide, elle était morte de douleur. Mais la vente de cette âme si adorable dans sa charite fut déclarée nulle par le Seigneur, car elle avait sauvé ses considérants de la mort éternelle. Après la huitaine, de visos nombreux amèneront à Orlin affamés d'immenses provisions de grains. La famine en était plus possible. Quant aux marchands, ils disperierent de leur hotellerie, sans qu'un sut jamais si tu ils étaient divinis. Toutefois, les patrons de la Blackwater pretendent tu ils sont en chains dans une prison souterraine par ordre de Lucifer jusqu'au moment où ils pourront livrer l'aime de Ketty que leur échappe. Je vous dis la légende telle que je la sais. Mais les pauvres élointis racontent d'age en age et les enfants de Cork et de Dublin chantent encore la ballade dont voici les derniers couplets. Pour sauver les pauvres Joël aime Ketty donna son esprit, à ses croyances mime. Satan paya cet amo dévouement sublime, en ecus d'or, dicens pour racheter son crime, confiteor. Mais l'ange que est fait coupable par charite au séjour d'amour ineffable est remonté. Satan vain que n'y pas de prise sur si cœur d'or, chant un sous la nef de l'église, confiteor. N'est si pas que si recite, any de l'imagination de poètes catholiques de la verte Erin, est un véritable recite de Corinne? The Countess Kathleen was acted in Dublin in 1899, with Mr. Marcus St. John and Mr. Trevor Lowe as the first and second demon, Mr. Valentine Grace as Seamus Rua, Master Charles Sefton as Teague, Madame San Carola as Mary, Miss Florence Farr as Alil, Miss Anna Mather as Una, Mr. Charles Holmes as the herdsman, Mr. Jack Wilcox as the gardener, Mr. Walford as a peasant, Miss Dorothy Paget as a spirit, Miss M. Kelly as a peasant woman, Mr. T. Wilkinson as a servant, and Miss May Whitty as the Countess Kathleen. They had to face a very vehement opposition stirred up by a politician and a newspaper, the one accusing me in a pamphlet, the other in long articles day after day, of blasphemy because of the language of the demons or of Seamus Rua, and because I made a woman sell her soul and yet escape damnation, and of a lack of patriotism because I made Irish men and women, who, it seems, never did such a thing, sell theirs. The politician or the newspaper persuaded some 40 Catholic students to sign a protest against the play, and a cardinal, who avowed that he had not read it, to make another, and both politician and newspaper made such obvious appeals to the audience to break the peace, that a score or so of police were sent to the theatre to see that they did not. I had, however, no reason to regret the result, for the stalls, containing almost all that was distinguished in Dublin, and a gallery of artisans alike insisted on the freedom of literature. After the performance in 1899 I added the love scene between Alil and the Countess, and in this new form the play was revived in New York by Miss Wycherley as well as being played a good deal in England and America by amateurs. Now at last I have made a complete revision to make it suitable for performance at the Abbey Theatre. The first two scenes are almost wholly new, and throughout the play I have added or left out such passages as a stage experience of some years showed me encumbered the action, the play in its first form having been written before I knew anything of the theatre. I have left the old end, however, in the version printed in the body of this book, because the change for dramatic purposes has been made for no better reason than that audiences, even at the Abbey Theatre, are almost ignorant of Irish mythology, or because a shallow stage made the elaborate vision of armed angels upon a mountainside impossible. The new end is particularly suited to the Abbey stage, where the stage platform can be brought out in front of the proscenium and have a flight of steps at one side up which the angel comes, crossing towards the back of the stage at the opposite side. The principal lighting is from 2 arc lights in the balcony which throw their lights into the faces of the players, making footlights unnecessary. The room at Seamus Rua's house is suggested by a great grey curtain, a color which becomes full of rich tints under the stream of light from the arcs. The 2 or more arches in the third scene permit the use of a gauze. The short front scene before the last is just long enough when played with incidental music to allow the scene set behind it to be changed. The play when played without interval in this way lasts a little over an hour. The play was performed at the Abbey Theatre for the first time on December 14, 1911, Miss Mare O'Neill taking the part of the Countess, and the last scene from The Going Out of the Merchants was as follows. Merchants rush out. Alil crawls into the middle of the room. The twilight has fallen and gradually darkens as the scene goes on. Merchants. Alil. Alil. They're rising up, they're rising through the earth, fat Asmodel and giddy Belial, and all the fiends. Now they leap in the air. But why does Hell's Gate creak so? Round and round. Hither and hither, to and fro they're running. He moves about as though the air was full of spirits. Una enters. Una. Crouch down, old heron, out of the blind storm. Una. Where is the Countess Kathleen? All this day her eyes were full of tears, and when for a moment her hand was laid upon my hand, it trembled. And now I do not know where she is gone. Allele. Kathleen has chosen other friends than us, and they are rising through the hollow world. Demons are out, old heron. Una. God guard her soul. God guard her soul. Allele. She's bartered it away this very hour, as though we two were never in the world. He kneels beside her, but does not seem to hear her words. The peasants return. They carry the Countess Kathleen and lay her upon the ground before Una and Allele. She lies there as if dead. Peasants. Countess Kathleen. Una. Allele. Una. Oh, that so many pitchers of rough clay should prosper and the porcelain break in two! She kisses the hands of Kathleen. Kathleen. A peasant. We were under the tree where the path turns when she grew pale as death and fainted away. Kathleen. Oh, hold me, and hold me tightly, for the storm is dragging me away. Una takes her in her arms. A woman begins to wail. Una. A woman. Peasants. Hush! Hush! Peasants. Hush! Hush! Peasant women. Hush! Hush! Other peasant women. Hush! Hush! Kathleen, half rising. Lay all the bags of money in a heap, and when I am gone, old Una, share them out to every man and woman, judge, and give according to their needs. A peasant woman. And will she give enough to keep my children through the dearth? And will she give? Another peasant woman. O Queen of Heaven, and all you blessed saints, let us and ours be lost, so she be shriven. Kathleen. Bend down your faces, Una and Allele. I gaze upon them as the swallow gazes upon the nest under the eave, before she wander the loud waters. Do not weep too great a while, for there is many a candle on the high altar though one fall. Allele, who sang about the dancers of the woods, that know not the hard burden of the world, having but breath in their kind bodies, farewell. And farewell, Una, you who played with me and bore me in your arms about the house when I was but a child, and therefore happy even like those that dance. The storm is in my hair, and I must go. She dies. Una. Bring me the looking glass. A woman brings it to her out of inner room. Una holds glass over the lips of Kathleen. All is silent for a moment, then she speaks in a half-scream. A woman. Una. Kathleen. Oh, she is dead. Oh, she is dead. A peasant. She was the great white lily of the world. A peasant. She was more beautiful than the pale stars. An old peasant woman. The little plant I loved is broken in two. Allele takes looking glass from Una and flings it upon floor, so that it is broken in many pieces. Allele. Una. Allele. I shatter you in fragments, for the face that brimmed you up with beauty is no more, and die, dull heart, for you that were a mirror are but a ball of passionate dust again. And level earth and plumy sea, rise up. And haughty sky, fall down. A peasant woman. Pull him upon his knees, his curses will pluck lightning on our heads. Pull him upon his knees. Allele. Angels and devils clash in the middle air, and brazen swords clang upon brazen helms. Look, look, a spear has gone through Belial's eye. A winged angel, carrying a torch and a sword, enters from the hour, with eyes fixed upon some distant thing. The angel is about to pass out to the L, when Allele speaks. The angel stops a moment and turns. Angel. R. Angel. L. Allele. Angel. Look no more on the half-closed gates of hell, but speak to me whose mind is smitten of God, that it may be no more with mortal things, and tell of her who lies there. The angel turns again and is about to go, but is seized by Allele. Angel. Allele. Till you speak you shall not drift into eternity. Till you speak. The angel. The light beats down, the gates of pearl are wide. and she is passing to the floor of peace, and Mary of the 7 times wounded heart has kissed her lips, and the long blessed hair has fallen on her face. The light of lights looks always on the motive, not the deed, the shadow of shadows on the deed alone. A Leo releases the angel and kneels. A Leo. Angel. Una. Tell them to walk upon the floor of peace, that I would die and go to her I love. The years like great black oxen tread the world, and God the herdsman goads them on behind, and I am broken by their passing feet. Down by the Sally Gardens. An extension of 3 lines sung to me by an old woman at Belisader. Findrani Findruin. A kind of white bronze. Finvara Finbar. The king of the fairies of Connaught. Hell. In the older Irish books hell is always cold, and it may be because the Famaro, or evil powers, ruled over the north and the winter. Christianity adopted as far as possible the pagan symbolism in Ireland as elsewhere, and Irish poets, when they spoke of the cold flagstone of hell, may have repeated pagan symbolism. The folk tales, and Keating in his description of hell, make use, however, of the ordinary symbolism of fire. The Lamentation of the Pensioner. This poem is little more than a translation into verse of the very words of an old Wicklow peasant. Fret means doom or destiny. The Land of Heart's Desire. This little play was produced at the Avenue Theatre in the spring of 1894, with the following cast: Mortine Bruin, Mr. James Welch, Sean Bruin, Mr. A.W. Mason, Father Hart, Mr. G.R. Foss, Bridget Bruin, Miss Charlotte Morland, Mayor Bruin, Miss Winifred Fraser, A Fairy Child, Miss Dorothy Paget. It ran for a little over 6 weeks. It was revived in America in 1901, when it was taken on tour by Mrs. Lemoyne. It has been played 2 or 3 times professionally since then in America and a great many times in England and America by amateurs. Till lately it was not part of the repertory of the Abbey Theatre, for I had grown to dislike it without knowing what I disliked in it. This winter, however, I have made many revisions and now it plays well enough to give me pleasure. It is printed in this book in the new form, which was acted for the first time on February 22, 1912, at the Abbey Theatre, Dublin. At the Abbey Theatre, where the platform of the stage comes out in front of the curtain falls before the priest's last words. He remains outside the curtain and the words are spoken to the audience like an epilogue. The Meditation of the Old Fisherman. This poem is founded upon some things a fisherman said to me when out fishing in Sligo Bay. Northern Cold. The foamer, the powers of death and darkness and cold and evil, came from the north. Nuala. The wife of Finvara. Rose. The rose is a favorite symbol with the Irish poets, and has given a name to several poems both Gaelic and English, and is used in love poems, in addresses to Ireland like Mr. Aubrey de Vere's poem telling how the little black rose shall be red at last, and in religious poems, like the old Gaelic one which speaks of the Rose of Friday, meaning the rose of austerity. Sally. Willow. 7 hazel trees. There was once a well overshadowed by 7 sacred hazel trees, in the midst of Ireland. A certain woman plucked their fruit, and 7 rivers arose out of the well and swept her away. In my poems this well is the source of all the waters of this world, which are therefore 7-fold. The Wanderings of Usheen. The poem is founded upon the Middle Irish dialogues of S. Patrick and Usheen and a certain Gaelic poem of the last century. The events it describes, like the events in most of the poems in this volume, are supposed to have taken place rather in the indefinite period, made up of many periods, described by the folk tales, than in any particular century. It therefore, like the later Fenian stories themselves, mixes much that is medieval with much that is ancient. The Gaelic poems do not make Usheen go to more than one island, but a story in Silva Gadelica describes 4 paradises: an island to the north, an island to the west, an island to the south, and Adam's paradise in the east. The full Project Gutenberg license. Please read this before you distribute or use this work.